Oh, it's another time for Vikings vintage. Today we are talking backup quarterbacks with everything that's going on with Mr. Joshua Pastor not Dobbs. We are talking backup quarterbacks. If there's another, comparisons to other backup quarterbacks or even rookie quarterbacks who have come in and gone on a run to see what happened when they came in and started. If it was a good run, bad run, if it was awful, or if it's good, or if history says that Dobbs is going to be good.
Skol Vikings, let's win this game. Skol Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run out the score. You'll hear us yell for more. V-I-K-I-N-G-S. Skol Vikings, let's roll.
I love that intro.
I do like that intro.
So, yeah, thank you, Yogi, for that. Great work on that intro. So, with the situation with Josh Dobbs, I guess you could say Josh Dobbs wasn't even a backup. You could probably say that he was third string. But so with the success that he had on Sunday, let's compare a history of the Vikings quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, or / rookies who came in and performed above expectations, we'll say. And then we also have a list of backup quarterbacks who did contribute to the team, whether they were backups or starters at the time, or they were backup and became a starter. I think we could. There's one I think we can start off with. Is Sean Salisbury. After 2 years in the NFL to begin his career from 86 to 87, Salisbury spent time with the Blue Bombers before returning to the NFL with the Vikings in 92. He remained the Vikings for 3 seasons as a backup, started a total of 9 games, going 9-4. So he threw for 2,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. So, I mean, I guess you could say he didn't kill Minnesota, but it's not like he set the world on fire or led them to the playoffs or anything like that.
No, they actually got to the playoffs in 92. He ended up starting because Rich Gannon was just stinking up the joint as a starter. Gannon had been hurt. Salisbury came in, but then Gannon towards the end of the year looked really bad. And Denny Green decided to start Salisbury and kind of rode out the rest of the season with Salisbury. He was nothing spectacular.
I wish they would have kept Gannon instead. Even back then, I know Gannon wasn't the player he was when he went to the
Gannon had a falling out with
right.
Denny Green.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand that, but I'm just saying he was. Even as a kid back in '92, I could tell that Gannon was better than Salisbury.
But here's the thing: it took Gannon. Gannon had to go through 2 or 3 teams before he became the quarterback that he was, and he said he gave credit for that to Mike McCarthy because he had never had a quarterbacks coach.
Yeah,
McCarthy was his first quarterbacks coach, but I mean, up until then, Gannon was.
Didn't people want him to play other positions?
Yeah, the Patriots wanted him to play. I think it was safety. Yeah, the Patriots wanted him to play safety. And other teams wanted him to be like a wide receiver.
Yeah, I know it was definitely not play quarterback.
Well, the thing with Gannon was he didn't have the strongest arm. He really didn't. Yeah. So, and Salisbury was actually a pretty decent quarterback even at USC. So, and then he played in Canada, and then we signed him down here. But he was nothing spectacular.
So Rich Gannon was the quarterback for the Vikings between 87 and 1992.
Mm-hmm. He came back. He was with us in 93 also. And then we brought him back in 94. He started the last game of the year in 94 when Warren Moon got hurt. We played the Niners on I believe it was Christmas night on the last game of the year. And then he went to the Oilers the next year. But yeah, he was definition of a backup. Big definition of a backup.
Yeah.
And he won some key games for us. He won a big game, a Comfrey Hind game in Denver in 93, because McMahon got hurt in the middle of the season. And that Denver game was probably Salisbury's best game. So
Yeah, it's I think Salisbury is more known for what he did when he went to ESPN when that incident than he is as a quarterback. But yeah, he it's funny, he's another Southern California quarterback who wasn't good.
Yeah, he was a USC quarterback, yeah.
So yeah, it looks like he started at Indy in 87 and then played for the Vikings and then ended his career in San Diego. Yeah, so yeah, he's postseason. He lost his one postseason game that he started. Yeah, I know we're talking about backup quarterbacks, but this list I'm watching has him as the 10th best backup quarterback. I don't know if I agree with that, but this is from the Viking Age, which is, I think, from FanSided. I think is the main page.
From Viking Age?
Yeah.
I'd have to see the rest of the list in order to. I don't even think he's.
Well, there's no honorable mention. So it's not like, hey, this guy was 11th, this guy was 12th.
Okay.
But the next guy, I think he's a little low. They have Gus Frerotte as number 9.
Frerotte is 9?
Yeah. Gus
Yeah,
Frerotte
that's right. He was
two separate stints with the Vikings, but his first one came from 2003, 2004 when he was the backup to Dante Culpepper.
Yep.
Frerotte ended up starting 2 games in that span, winning both of them. Then in 2008, he returned to Minnesota, went 8-3 as a starter.
Yeah.
He also has the so in total, Frerotte threw for 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 17 picks. And I think he still holds the record for the Vikings for longest pass touchdown. That 99-yard.
99 yards to Berrien against the Bears.
Yeah.
I forgot all about him. I forgot he had 2 stints.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for everybody in the chat, by the way, everybody who shows up. So that kid, Mama Catch, Gary and Bob, you guys are always here. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember him having the 2 stints, and then he got hurt that second stint, which brought Tavares back.
Right.
And then he was gone. But yeah, so they got him at 9.
They got him at 9.
Okay. All right.
So I'm curious who's next on the list.
Okay, who do they got after him?
Oh, they got the guy we talked about earlier. They got Rich Gannon as 8.
Yeah, because Gannon was a backup.
It says Rich Gannon had a hilarious start to his career when he was drafted in the 4th round by the Patriots back in '87. New England wanted to convert him from a quarterback to one of a few other positions, and Gannon didn't like that. You see, he was then dealt to Minnesota, where he would play until 1992. Mostly a backup, Gannon wouldn't start a game until 1990 campaign when he went 5-7 as a starter. He would then go on to start the majority of the following 2 seasons before heading to Washington. In Minnesota, though, Gannon threw for over 6,400 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 34 interceptions.
He had his moments.
Was like other. It says other positions. So imagine it was more than just having to play wide receiver. They probably want to play safety, corner, whatever, all that good stuff.
I think they want him to play defensive back. I think that's what they would. I think they want him to play safety.
I think I remember something like. I think I remember the story or something like that. But yeah. And then of course, like you said, he had a falling out with Dennis Green was the reason why.
He held out the year before. He held out in a contract dispute, and he finally signed. But it was during training camp. But yeah, I was the way he played in '92. He wasn't the best quarterback,
right?
At least we could run the ball. We had Terry Allen and could run the ball, but he I think what happened was we played the Niners that year, and he basically cost us that game. And after that game, he was benched. But yeah, he cost us that game against the Niners. But he hadn't set the world on fire up until then.
Yeah,
You know,
I just liked him better. I think I just liked him better than Sean Salisbury. I could see that he had more talent, and he proved that when he went to the Chiefs with how he played with the Chiefs and Raiders.
and
You know?
the Chiefs were where he had a quarterback coach.
Yeah,
And then the Raiders, he had John Gruden.
yeah,
So, Gruden was a quarterback guru, but I mean, even when he went to Washington, he wasn't that good. So,
yeah.
and
But
that's
this guy, I'm surprised they have him at 7. I think he should be way higher. That's Wade Wilson. Back in the '81 NFL draft, the Vikings selected Wade Wilson out of Texas A&M
Mhm.
Commerce. He would go on to play a lengthy 11 seasons for Minnesota, spending most of his time as a backup. It wasn't until '87 when Wilson received the opportunity to start several games, going 5-2. In '88, Wilson enjoyed the best season as a pro, going 7-3, throwing for 2,700 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. In 1990, an injury forced Rich Gannon into action, and then in '91, Wilson ended up losing his job to Gannon after 5 games.
Yep.
Ultimately, Wilson left Minnesota after the year, but mostly as a backup quarterback. He still sits 5th all-time in team history with over 12,000 passing yards.
He played. I mean, he didn't play. He played some in '81, his rookie year. He did see some action because Steve Dills got hurt. We played the Raiders on a Monday night game, and the Raiders just beat the hell out of him. And Dills was playing for Tommy Kramer, who was hurt. So when Kramer came back, the only backup quarterback we had to Tommy was Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
And so Wilson did see action in '81, '82. That was all Tommy Kramer. That was a strike shortened year. '83, Kramer goes down again. Steve Dills comes in. Well, Dills takes all the snaps. They get Archie Manning in a trade, and Manning was having health problems then. He had a thyroid problem. And so the last game of the year with the Vikings out of the playoffs, Bud Grant started Wade Wilson. He started him in that game. And then in '84, he saw action along with Kramer and Archie Manning. So he started to play more. And then in '85, he's the one that was the quarterback for that comeback in Philadelphia. That was him. Now, Steve Bono also played in that game, but Bono had, I think, one drive, completed one pass, and he was out. But and the problem was Tommy Kramer started getting hurt all the time. So that's when Wade started getting more playing time. And then, the NFC Championship game, 6 yards away. '88, he goes to the Pro Bowl. But then his injuries started to creep up on him too, and they started in '88. So 88, 89, and '90, he lost time because of injuries, whether it be bad. One time he hit his hand on a defensive player's helmet. He was out for 5 weeks. Other times it was for other injuries, but when he came back in '91, which was Jerry Burns' last year, he lost the job. The offense wasn't moving, so he lost his job to Rich Gannon. And then when Denny Green came in, Denny just released him. So, but I think he went to Dallas and got a ring as a backup to Troy Aikman.
What was it, 92 or 93, I think?
It was 93, I believe. Yeah, 93. And rest his soul, Wade left us a few years ago. So
Yeah, cancer, right?
I heard it was diabetes related.
Okay, let's see. Texas A&M Commerce. I think there's. I don't know. If there's anybody else.
Texas A&M Commerce back in the day. I think it was. Well, let's see. John Randall went to Texas A&I. He went to East Texas State. That's what it was. It was East Texas State.
Yeah, so '95 is when he won the Super Bowl with Dallas.
Okay, 95. Okay.
Yeah, because after he left Minnesota, he went to Atlanta, then New Orleans for two
Yep.
years, then Dallas, and then he ended his career in '98 in Oakland.
Yep.
So not bad. I mean, his career yards is 17,000,
Yeah, he had a,
99 touchdowns, and 102 interceptions.
yeah,
So
he had a decent career. He went to the Pro Bowl. I mean, that's back then when the Pro Bowls meant something.
yeah,
So
it's so bad now they should even play it. I don't know.
yeah, it's not even a game. It doesn't hold the clout that it used to hold. It's kind of they've made it into something I don't even watch it. I don't even watch it. So
Yeah, I haven't watched it in such a long time.
yeah,
Pretty much just it left Hawaii is when I stopped watching it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right, so the next on the list is number 6. This is Brad Johnson, which we know he was more than a backup, but he was a backup at one time. So Brad Johnson's NFL career spanned an impressive 15 years, but it began in Minnesota when the Vikings drafted him in the 9th round back in '92 draft out of Florida State. Johnson started his career as a third-string passer for a couple of seasons. He wouldn't end up starting a regular season game until year 5 in 1996 when he went 5-3 as a starter. He also never started a game at Florida State.
No, he was a career backup at
Yeah.
Florida State too.
It took a while, but Johnson finally found his footing. In 1997, he became the team's starter and went 8-5 before sustaining a neck injury later that year and being replaced by Randall Cunningham. Overall, for the Vikings, Johnson posted a record of 29-18, throwing for 1,100 yards, 65 touchdowns, and 48 interceptions.
Yeah, he had a couple of stints.
Yeah, so he wasn't. I mean,
Stints.
he obviously he's got the ring with the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just weird how he never started a game in college, but yet he was drafted.
Yeah, I never understood that. But he was drafted as a backup because when Denny drafted him, he was drafted to be the third string because he had Gannon and Salisbury.
Yeah.
So,
And he was one of those players where when NFL Europe actually was the feeder system.
He played over
for
there.
the NFL. He played for the London Monarchs.
Yeah, he played over there. That helped him.
He played the spring season with the London Monarchs, and then he came back to play for the Vikings after that.
Yeah, he was a much better quarterback.
He
was.
And then so he ended his career. Brad. He went from 95 to 99. He was in 98. Sorry, he was in Minnesota, and then he came back for 05 and 06.
Yeah, and in between, he went to Washington and Tampa Bay.
Yep, and of course, Tampa is where he won the
Tampa Bay. He won the ring.
Yeah, he was in Tampa from 2001 to 2004, and then he ended his career in Dallas.
Yeah, he was a backup in Dallas, I believe.
Yeah, his last year for Minnesota was 2006 when he actually started 14 games, 2,700 yards.
Yeah, and what's his name? Benched him. Brad Childress for Tavares Jackson. Yeah, he benched him for Tavares.
4-3 postseason record, 3-0 at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he was probably more known as a starter than a backup, but he wasn't a backup eventually.
Yeah, he was a backup.
Yep,
he was a backup.
And then, all right, now you're gonna, if you're, this is an old school guy right here. All right, so number 5 on their list is Bob Lee. He says Bob Lee was drafted in the 17th round of the '60 NFL draft. He would not only play quarterback, but also saw some time as a punter too. Lee was mostly a backup in Minnesota from '69 to '72, starting a total of 6 games and owning a record of 5-1. He might not have played much, but you cannot ask for a better than a record like that. Lee threw for over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions while with the Vikings. One of the biggest moments came in '71 when he started a playoff game for the Vikings against the Cowgirls. The game was much different back then, though, and Lee threw for 85 yards, going 7-17 for passing.
The Vikings lost because they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, I think we talked.
That's why they
about
lost.
that.
They lost that
Yeah.
game because they couldn't run the ball.
Which,
Lee was serviceable. I mean, he saw most of his action because in those years between Joe Cap and Fran Tarkenton, 70 and 71,
yeah,
it was just Quazzo and Lee in 70. And then in 71, it was Quazzo, Norm Snead, and Bob Lee in 71. And there was the quarterback situation was so bad in Minnesota that even the Viking players, it was a joke in the locker room who was going to start at quarterback on Sunday.
yeah. They even had Joe Kappelman back then.
Yeah, and Koppelman was there. I don't think Koppelman saw it down, except maybe in preseason. But yeah, they had Koppelman in 70. But we traded him in 73 to the Falcons for we bring back Bob Berry, who was a backup previously to Tarkenton. And I mean, Bob Lee's crowning moment was he beat an undefeated Viking team on Monday Night Football in 73 with the Falcons. He actually had a good year in 73. 74, it went belly up, and then came back to the team in 75, stayed with us. Matter of fact, he threw the last TD pass. That was the last score for the Vikings in a Super Bowl. It was 5 yards to Stu Voigt. Played in 77 when Fran got hurt, but then we also had Tommy Kramer. And then he was with the team in 78, and then he ended up going to the Rams in 79 and actually played the Vikings that year when the Rams played the Vikings. He took over from Vince Ferragamo. I think got knocked out of the game. And he was out of football by 1980.
Yeah, he actually played for Minnesota from 68 to 72 and came back for 75 to 78.
Yeah.
God, he went to Pacific. I don't even think they have a team anymore.
No, Pacific does not have a team anymore. Nope.
So yeah, I guess for the time, Bob Lee needed to get done what he needed to get done.
Yeah, and in that era, you didn't have the gaudy passing numbers. If you were throwing that much in that era, that really meant you couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
And he was just, and plus, here's the thing. Bud and Jerry Burns weren't going to put him in a spot to lose the game because he had the defense. So he just had to basically drive the car, you know.
Kind of what we're expecting Dobbs to do right now.
Right. So that's all he had to do. But the playoff game against Dallas, that was where it was glaring that we needed a quarterback. I think that after that game, the talk of Tarkenton coming back had started, like immediately after that game.
Yes, it's like it's doing this show, and then the other show we did. The Vikings history of quarterbacks is not the greatest.
No, it's and let's now remember this: Fran Tarkenton started as a backup.
Yeah,
if George Shaw doesn't play terrible in that first game, we don't see Tarkenton maybe till the second or third game. But the fact that
and Shaw only lasted one season. And the fact that Van Brocklin pulled the plug so quick, where most quarterbacks now would give him. Since he's a veteran. It's hard. With Norman Brocklin being a quarterback himself, he probably saw that this guy is not gonna make it.
But here's the thing, though. He hated Tarkenton.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to put that aside for the better player.
Position. He hated Tarkenton. I mean, it's a wonder them two literally didn't kill each other. It's a wonder It's a wonder other players didn't kill Van Brocklin either. That's how bad he was. But yeah, I mean, and then we went from, Fran to Joe to back to Fran to Tommy, and but recently we haven't had, let's face it, Cousins is the longest starting quarterback we've had since probably Dante Culpepper. And every year, Danny went to the playoffs every year with a different quarterback.
Yeah, they're probably going to re-sign him, so Cousins will probably be second behind Tarkenton with everything by the time he gets done here, except for the
Right.
rushing yards.
Right. Oh, definitely not the rushing yards.
Yeah,
Definitely
but
not.
everything else, he may even pass Tarkenton in some of them stats. You know,
Yeah,
But
because
Philadelphia,
the way the game is now, he might.
yeah.
He might. Um but yeah, so
Which sucks because he was playing so damn well before he got hurt. But oh well, that's over and done with.
yeah.
It's time for the pastronaut, as NASA calls him.
Yeah, he just needs to he's just gotta drive the I think and he's gonna surprise us. I mean, he's not an idiot. He's
He's
not an
smarter than
idiot.
everybody put in this room together.
Yeah, so he's not an idiot. I mean, the kid can play. Why he was let go from so many teams is beyond me.
See, they got this next guy listed as a backup.
Okay.
I think if you talk to most people, they would consider him a starter.
Who's that?
Jeff George, because he only played one season in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, he started out as a backup though.
Yeah, and it's Jeff George only spent one season in Minnesota back in '99, but it was a memorable one. He ended up having one of the best seasons of his career that year, but it began as the backup to Randall Cunningham.
Yep.
Through 6 games that year, Randall Cunningham did not fare well. I remember how bad Randall Cunningham was in '99.
He looked washed.
Yeah,
He looked washed that year.
kind of like Favre in '09 to '10. The difference in those 2 years was.
Yeah.
George took over Vikings and led them to an 8-2 record under his direction while throwing for 2,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. That's not bad for 10 games.
No, it's pretty good.
He would actually lead the NFL in yards per completion at 14.7. George and the Vikings actually won a playoff game that year against the Dallas Cowboys, but ultimately lose to the Rams, who went on to the Super Bowl to win that whole thing that season. I think that was the year the Rams beat the Bucks 13-3 and 13-6.
That playoff game was
the shootout. Right?
Jeff kind of sealed his fate when he fumbled a snap and he didn't go after the ball. He just kind of stood there.
Yeah,
that sealed his fate with Denny Green. But yeah, he for that 1 year he saved us. He saved us for that 1 year. You know.
What up, Yogi? What up, Gil? What up, Frozen?
And hey, Mary. Hey, Gary.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Mary. Thank you, Mary. Hey, you finally made it in. I hope you're feeling better. Same with you, Gary. I hope you're feeling better as well. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that what ruined Jeff George was his salary demands the next year.
Yeah. No, I don't think did anybody sign him?
I don't. I do not know, but he definitely. Let me go. But I know he wanted a lot of money that year. Yeah, I know Washington signed him in 2000. He only played 6 games,
and that was basically the end of his career,
right? Because I think he wanted to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. But that's Jeff George. Jeff George is always
had an ego.
Like that. Yeah, he always had an ego.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
always had an ego.
Someone said that he carried the globe of the world. His ego was so big, he could put it on top of his ego and just carry it. So,
yeah.
You know, what up, Skull for Life? Yeah, it's just wonder what it would have been like if he stayed more than just that 1 year. Because
you know what though, he would always have those 1 years, the 1 good years, and then he looked horrible the follow-up year. He did
because he had the receivers to go deep.
Yeah,
you know, you get the 3 deep. They still had Carter Reed and Moss.
Yeah, he could have did it. I mean, shit. I don't know why but he, like I said, he wouldn't always play.
By the way, Gary, Yogi can. We're actually using Yogi Stream, right? So Yogi can join anytime he wants.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, and Dave, if you want to join, let me know. I'll go ahead and I'll put the link in the chat if you want to join, Dave.
Put the link up for Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, put the link up for Dave.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, Jeff George, he he had the ability to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but I think his ego.
His
I mean,
ego.
we all,
He had. You know what though? He had that ego at Illinois. He had that
yeah,
ego in college, and then he
and then
goes. He went to the Colts, and
we all remember the argument with June Jones on the sideline
yeah,
with the Falcons.
yep,
You know, thinking he knows better than the coach.
yeah, yeah. He was his ego. His ego was bigger than most locker rooms he was in.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's a huge. I mean, I understand that you have to have an ego to be a great quarterback. I understand that, but having too big of an ego can get in the way, which is what kind of happened with Fran
Exactly.
Tarkenton.
Yeah. But at least Fran backed it up with Super Bowl trips.
Yeah, I would say
Right.
that Jeff George was definitely better than Jay Cutler.
I'd
Jay
have
Cutler,
took
as you
George
say.
over Cutler any day.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd have took George over Cutler.
I mean, Cutler was not a very good quarterback, but yeah, he's still one of the greatest Bears quarterbacks ever.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you how bad the Bears quarterback situation is.
Didn't Jeff George get in an argument with the Raiders also on the sideline?
What was that sideline argument? Pretend some of us don't know. Well, not being Falcons historians, we don't really know. And then, I mean, it was an argument between June Jones and him. June Jones, he was Wade Wilson was not Wade. Sorry, Jeff George was. He made a throw or did some kind of decision that the coach didn't like, and I guess just Jeff George said it was a better decision. Of course, you have two alpha males,
Right.
stuff like that's going to happen.
And June Jones was a quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah, June Jones was a quarterback, folks. But his ego was just, I mean, Jeff George's ego was, it didn't rear itself in Minnesota, but when he didn't go after that fumble against the Rams, that kind of sealed his fate. And put it this way, if he's re-signed, we never know how good Dante Culpepper is.
Yeah,
because it's going to be a year or two off.
So it was week 4. It was the Eagles versus the Falcons. Jeff George actually got 2 games suspension, I believe.
That's right. He did get suspended.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got suspended.
Let me see here. So the Falcons suspended Jeff George today. So this is from September 24th in 1996. The Falcons suspended Jeff George today, one day after the quarterback threw a tirade at Coach June Jones after being pulled from a game against Philadelphia. And there were strong indications that George's career in Atlanta was over. He left me no choice, Jones said after a meeting with George. He departed the Falcons complex without comment. I told him I'd call him tomorrow, and we'll see where that leads from there. Jones said all options would be considered, including a trade, although George's $3.6 million contract could make that difficult. Back then, that was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money back then.
It's just a bad situation, Jones said. I don't know how it's going to sort out. George was benched after throwing an interception in the third quarter of what became a 33-18 loss that left the Falcons 0-3. After being replaced by Bobby Hebert, George followed Jones down the sideline, arguing with the coach. After the game, George was repentant about the language he used with his coach, saying, I need to learn a little bit more about that, I guess. That doesn't really sound like he was apologizing.
Right. He wasn't apologizing.
But yeah, that's when Bobby Hebert, I guess, became the starter for the Falcons. It doesn't really say what the argument was about. Maybe Jeff George thought maybe he should have been pulled, and it led to that. But yeah. But we can get this man's thoughts on that issue.
Hey guys.
Hey Dave, what's up?
What's up?
Hey. My impression of Jeff George back in the day was he had a hell of an arm, but he was an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was the only knock on him.
Yeah.
He had the ability. He just was a jerk. But he had he would have had a hell of a career if his ego hadn't been, like I said, bigger than most locker rooms.
Yep. And that's a shame. It's when you see talent wasted because of some other personal fault or coaching fault or whatever, it's a shame because it denies us, the fan, of good football.
Yeah.
Because when you look back at the stats of that year, that was, I mean, in 10 games, in 10 games that year for Minnesota, he threw, 23 touchdowns? I think it was 12 interceptions. I mean,
yeah,
10 games.
He had nucleus to the offense. He had Moss, he had Carter, he had Robert Smith, he had Matthew Hatchett, he had I forget who our tight end was, Glover, but he also had Carlester Crumpler. He had weapons. He had McDaniel and Stussy. He had that offense intact, and what could have been, I mean, they could have went far against the Rams, but we didn't have no defense. That 1919
well, that was the show
no
on defense. That was that 40. What's the game like 41-37 or
49-37.
Something like that playoff game. Yeah.
49-37. It was like a mad.
That game got me so packed because I was like, the Rams would score, and I'm like, oh god, this game's over. And then of course the Vikings would come back and almost die. I'm like, oh, this is the game. And then the Rams would go down and come back.
And we're saying the last one with the ball wins.
Yeah.
But then the Rams scored too quick. Well, then what happened was they scored quick in the third quarter, and then that's when George didn't go after the fumble.
Mm-hmm.
And they scored right away after that. And that kind of was just the ultimate downhill spiral.
It was kind of like the Cam Newton playing the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they showed about as much interest as both of them showed about as much interest getting a fumble. It was kind of obvious.
I think that ruined Cam's career.
Well, it definitely it affected Jeff George's. It ruined his stay here in Minnesota. Because I think if he shows some leadership type of deals, if he changes his whole narrative, maybe he starts acting like a team player, he might stick around. He might. We don't know because we don't know. Denny was high on Dante. That's why he drafted him.
Frozen, he was a dick in college.
Yeah, he was. He was bad at Illinois. I think didn't he got picked in a supplemental draft?
Yeah, I don't think he was. I think it was.
Or was he drafted? I thought it was a supplemental draft.
Let me see.
But he was a jerk at Illinois.
Yeah.
It's like I do know it did affect his draft status.
Yep.
Because of his attitude. I'm not sure if he. I'm not sure. Let me see.
First year
I know the Colts drafted him.
Indy.
He was.
That was his first year with Indy, 90. And they had a good team.
He was the first pick, so he was.
Oh, he was number one. Wait a minute. Did the Colts get number one like back-to-back years?
Well, as Mel Kiper said, that's the reason why they're picking first of the year every draft, because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Because I know
who the hell is Mel Kiper? Well, Mel Kiper was right about your ass, wasn't he?
Yeah, because I know if they drafted George number one in 90, they drafted Steve Entman number one in 91 or 92 or something like that. And I'm just like, wait a minute. The Colts were bad.
He was third in offensive rookie of the year voting.
Yeah.
His rookie year?
In 90.
Okay.
With a 5-7 record.
Yeah, guess who his top receiver was? Andre Rison.
Mm-hmm. And he went 1-15 in 91.
That's why they picked the
That's why they got Entman. Yeah, that's why they got Entman. Who blew out his knees and sucked.
Yeah.
So
well, just think about that. They also had Trevor Alberts, who did the same thing.
Yeah.
Colts, that's why if you guys haven't watched the ESPN special about it might have been NFL Network about the draft history, when they have those classic shows and they talk about the history of the draft, watch that Mel Kiper and the Colts GM back and forth. It's hilarious.
Oh God, who was the GM at that time?
I don't know, but they picked Trent Dilfer. And that's what Mel Kiper said the same. That's why the Colts pick at the top every year of the draft. Because
God,
it's hilarious.
Oh my God, that is so true. But yeah, I mean, he only had the 1 year with us, but he made it count.
Yeah,
so.
I saw a comment earlier. I think it was Gary. I don't know if you were in here. It may not have been Gary, but we already talked about Wade Wilson. We are doing from the Viking age. We are doing their top 10 backup quarterbacks of all time. So we are borrowing.
So far, there's been a couple that have been like,
yes.
There's an argument there that they were different, that they shouldn't be listed there.
Right.
Who's after Jeff George? I hate to ask.
Let's do a recap for the ones that just joined us. So, one more page. So 10 was Sean Salisbury, 9 was Gus Frerotte, and then 8 was Rich Gannon, 7 was Wade Wilson, 6 was Brad Johnson, 5 was Bob Lee, Jeff George was 4. So the top 3 is everybody's favorite quarterback from modern time. Number 3 is Teddy Bridgewater. He says, yes, this counts. Because as a rookie back in 2014, Teddy Bridgewater began the season as a backup to quarterback Matt Castle. However, Bridgewater was thrust into the action a few games into the season after Castle went down with an injury. He ended up going 6-6 at the start of that year, throwing for 2,900 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 12 picks. The following season, Bridgewater was named a starter, went 11-5, throwing for 3,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 9 picks. Of course, what ensued after that season was tragic, talking about his injury. So he's a backup quarterback in the league today. That's one of the main reasons why he's the backup. So
Teddy is the great unknown.
Yes.
Yeah, before it blew up his knee.
Yeah.
Which I still don't know how he blew up his knee. They're not saying how he blew up his knee.
There's a specific rumor out there that I've heard that sounds more realistic than he just stepped on that beautiful turf and dislocated his knee.
I think the only thing it could be was he stepped on a damn water sprinkler.
No, somebody stepped on his foot.
Oh, so they kept that.
Well, Ingram wasn't there yet.
The rumor I heard.
Okay. You're lucky. I didn't even hear that rumor.
Yeah.
Well, Ingram wasn't there yet, so we can call him. We can leave him alone.
But he was dropping back, and he got his foot stepped on, and his momentum going backwards, and the weight on his foot pulled his knee apart.
But why wouldn't they report that?
Because you don't want to do that with your star
You don't. It was already. I remember when it happened with Teddy. It was, you thought somebody had killed him. The way they did it here in local TV, I thought he was dead.
Well, there was a possible life and death, because if it would have torn an artery.
Oh, it was that close.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
When his knee pulled apart, not only did the ligaments burst and pull, they were worried about 2 things. One, the big deal about if you dislocate a joint like that, there's arteries that run down there. You can rip those arteries apart.
Okay.
And you could literally bleed out in about 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Internal bleeding. And the second thing they were worried about is that you rip nerves through that, and then you lose the mobility of that leg.
That's why, because what's his name stabilized it right away
and did the exact right thing.
Yeah.
And that's why they called the ambulance, because it was literally a life or death situation. If that knee had moved the wrong way after it separated just that little bit more and ripped that artery that goes through there.
Yeah.
And a lot of times at that point, if I was taught it in our first aid medic sort of stuff in the military. If you see that and suddenly the leg starts to swell up with blood, like it's filling, and the guy's starting to lose it, it's tourniquet time. That's the only way to stop that. And thankfully, our trainers got it immobilized. There was not the sign of artery damage immediately. They got the ambulance there, took him to the hospital, did all the examinations. Everything in his knee was shredded.
Right.
Except for his arteries and his nerves. Okay. And that was the only thing that saved his career. Now, he was never the same, but at least he could walk and come back enough to be a backup quarterback.
Right. Which you can still make a pretty good living as a backup quarterback in the NFL.
Oh yeah, millions of dollars holding the clipboard.
Yeah.
And they did say that he'd be lucky if he even walked again, let alone lived.
They did
So,
say
like,
that. I
The fact
remember
that he's playing is remarkable.
and I
Right.
remember it was Sugarman right away that
Yeah.
stabilized the leg, and he got kudos for that. But I remember they had talked about how they how the press handled it here. I'm like, this has got to be really major because they're making it sound like he damn near died. And now
Yeah.
that I've heard from you,
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, that explains it now because they didn't tell us that.
yeah.
I have, you know what? I'd have if I didn't get it from you, Dave. I've dug and dug for years, and even my guy, my connection, he doesn't know what happened because he wasn't there that
I'll
day.
tell you who did the stepping, but by rumor off the air. But that was, and it makes more sense to me. If you're going to have that knee disconnect like this, where it pulls apart, and you're moving backwards. I mean, imagine being the quarterback and you're dropping back. You get
Okay.
that foot stuck.
All right,
and
all
it
right,
pulls.
Dave. I got to put you on the spot here. Was an offensive lineman?
No,
It wasn't.
no.
Well, damn, that shoots my theory out of the water. Okay, I was gonna say Easton, but it's not. Oh my god!
But going to this cover here for Viking Journal, no, I never wanted Manziel. I knew that he didn't care about football. He was all about me.
No, I didn't want Manziel.
So I was happy they drafted Teddy Bridgewater because
I was shocked they got Bridgewater because
Yeah.
I was shocked first of all because they got Anthony Barr that draft. So the fact that they traded down, it was the last draft of the night. I'm ready to leave. I'm leaving my buddy's place, heading home, and then all of a sudden we have a trade. It's the
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings. I'm like,
And
what?
they said-
Wait, what?
Spielman went back in.
Yeah.
Was it or Zimmer went back in and Spielman went back in, and it was like, no, we're not having a conference right now. Give us a few minutes.
And
came
then they
back
said
out
it
and
was. They said it was Teddy Bridgewater, who,
Traded
by the
up.
way,
got Teddy.
who at the time was probably the most pro-ready QB of all of them.
From the
His
system he
ceiling-
came
From
from.
the system, he
his
came
ceiling
from.
wasn't as high as other quarterbacks, but he
No.
was the most ready to play right now when they drafted him.
Yeah.
Which at the time, that's all they needed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he was perfect for Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He was an excellent game manager type
yeah.
of quarterback that would do what his coach wanted, which
Yep.
is of course
Yeah.
what Mike Zimmer likes.
Like, yeah.
And he was perfect, and Zimmer loved him. I mean, like a son
Yeah.
loved him. And that whole thing, when his knee exploded, that changed. That was one of those starting points in the whole downfall of Zimmer and all the tragedy, his wife dying, and all that other sort of stuff. That
His
went
fall,
on.
his fallout of his friendship with North Turner too.
Yep, and
Um,
it was, and it started to
A snowball effect.
a snowball effect, and basically, we're lucky. I think we're lucky Zimmer's still alive. He's been through so much
Yeah.
stress with his life, or with his wife, with his Teddy, who he loved like literally like a son, through the injury to the eye, almost going blind there, to the fallout with Norv Turner. It's just all sorts of things built up to being forced to take a quarterback he didn't want. I mean, just it started to snowball, and the stress
Yeah.
built up, and the stress built up, and then finally his son, committed suicide, and it's just. And when he got fired, I think that was a relief for him. He was like,
Yeah.
"Cool, I'm going to go sit on the ranch."
He could go sit on a ranch, do nothing, and hang out with his, Russian mail order bride.
He didn't like Keenum either.
No,
No,
no.
if your name wasn't Teddy, he did. If your name wasn't Teddy, he
Teddy.
didn't like you.
Now
Yeah.
he grew to very much like Sam Bradford, but
It took a while.
it took a while.
Yeah. Because Bradford was a better. I don't want to say better quarterback than Bridgewater, but he had his.
But here's the
his
problem
arm
with
was a little bit
Bradford.
better. Was a little bit better
Bradford was damaged goods when we got him.
Oh yeah.
Right. Bradford had the brains to play football so outstandingly. He had the arm to do it. He just
The
had no
knees
knees.
were
He had,
shot.
he had no
He
knees.
had no cartilage in his knees.
Yeah,
It was
the
dumb.
knees were shot.
what did someone say? He's like a 28-year-old with 90-year-old knees or something like that. I think someone said was a quote from.
And I wouldn't doubt that because
Yeah.
you know, as we get older, it starts to wear.
He had
we get
knee
arthritis
injuries his whole career.
Yeah,
With the Rams and everything, he had knee injuries. So when we got him, I was kind of like, I don't know if this guy's going to hold up. Well, we were fooled because the games that he played, he held up.
Yeah.
Right. Remember 2016, we started out 6-0.
Yeah.
And it was only in that year that every lineman died, and got injured, that we started to lose after that. And then the next year, first game was against New Orleans, the Saints, and he kicked their ass. He dissected the shit out of them.
Yep.
And then the following game, it was there goes the knee.
But you know what? And he played. Here's a problem with, and this is on Sam's part too. Sam kept it from the guys that his knee was doing what it was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when they got to the Pittsburgh game, his knee was basically locked up. He couldn't move, which put the Vikings in a really bad spot because Case Keenum didn't take any snaps with the first string. So that kind of
familiar.
That kind of screwed over. That kind of screwed over the Vikings for the Pittsburgh game.
Case Keenum was the ultimate of what I would consider a journeyman backup.
Yeah.
Well, they actually have Case Keenum as number 2.
Okay.
The Vikings fans will forever love Case Keenum, which, like I said, I'm glad they got Kirk Cousins and all that. I will always appreciate what Case Keenum did. He was part of the Minnesota Miracle back in January of 2018. And then it says, aside from that moment alone, Keenum did give the Vikings one fantastic season that year. He began the season as a backup to Sam Bradford, but ultimately took over when Bradford was lost to injury. Of course, he would go on to lead the Vikings to that miraculous playoff victory, but also threw 3,500 yards with 22 touchdowns and just 7 picks. Yeah, but we all know about the big pick he threw against the Eagles in that game. So that was by far his career before that year and his career after that game have been bad to say the best.
Yeah, he had some starts down in Texas, and then after us in Denver, he got hired on as starter, and he's been a backup ever since because he's never been that good. But that was a magical season. And I get the same sort of vibes with today's Vikings, with the way Josh Dobbs came in last week, that we may be that. And I've said it all week. We're playing with house money. We've got so many people injured, so many people done for the season. We're out. We started off like crap. And it's not that we were playing horribly. It's just that we were fumbling and not being able to hold on to passes. And then we got over that. And we got better, and we started winning, and we win, and we win, and we're looking good. And then pop goes an Achilles. And so we got to, hey, Jaron Hall, let's go the rookie. And second drive, bang, pop.
Yep.
Boop.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to hold, I shouldn't, but I'm going to. I'm going to hold that injury on Kirk. that's on KLC. He shouldn't have called that play.
I think that's just one of those weird things. He stepped back and that Achilles went.
Yeah, but the reason I say that is, first of all,
running the ball.
You should have been running the ball. You shouldn't have taken that sack to play before in the first place. My whole thing with KOC is we can't run the ball, but also with KOC, he gets away from the run when it doesn't work.
Right.
He's got to stick with it. And bench Madison, that's all I'm going to say. That's the thing. He comes from McVay's school
that way.
Yeah, he comes from the McVay school of coaching.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen now with Cam Akers' injury. So, we're going to be throwing even more.
And now here's the thing. Cam blew out his other Achilles.
Should have been.
His other Achilles. So basically, I've blown out my Achilles. I blew out my Achilles playing football.
Yeah, there was a doctor there's a doctor who reviews NFL injuries on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I'm sorry, but he goes over and he said that not only is this, obviously it's season injury, but he said this is possibly career ending because
I think it is
not just blowing out one Achilles is rough, but blowing out both of them on each leg. That's almost impossible to come back from. Like
Yeah,
he'll
And
be able
being
to
a
walk.
running back.
and he's
Yes.
a running back.
Yeah, he'll be able
Yeah.
to walk, but he will probably never be able to play the position again.
Right. If he was
So-
a punter, it'd be okay. But no.
No, even for like punter, you got to plant, but it depended
Yeah.
on which
But
foot.
if you recovered and
Right.
right.
But
it's just
and that same doctor said that with the quarterbacks, it's a lot of times the Achilles injuries, non-contact Achilles injuries, when they're dropping back, it usually happens to older quarterbacks because of all the
Yeah.
years of wear and tear. Like
Mhm.
like someone like Mahomes is not going to get it because they're young. So basically, she's years after it, and then finally it snaps. It can't take it anymore. So finally it snaps. That's why Rodgers got it. That's why Cousins got it. So with quarterbacks,
and with Rodgers, he'll come back because his ego. But with
and
Kirk,
the
you don't
voodoo
know.
and the mushrooms and
And the
the
mushrooms.
doctors and the
I mean, put it this way: if I was in like a tent in the desert for like friggin' 10 days taking hallucinogenics, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm coming back, baby. I'm
I
taking
haven't
over the
tried
world."
peyote yet. Let's do this.
Oh,
yeah, Vikings
Oh my
screen. It was
God.
a screen. It was a screen pass.
Yep. But as we
the play call. That's why I said what I said,
Yeah.
because the game was later. You had the ball deep in their territory. Why are you throwing the ball? And keep in
Yeah.
mind, you had a sack the play before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Why,
He was
if you're
trying
trying
to make up for it.
right?
He thinks, I can make up for it with a more aggressive pass because passing is more efficient. You get more yards.
Yep.
And that's his mentality. And that's why that's his default. And he's never, when it comes to our present run game, it sucks. He's tried all sorts of things. He's tried inside gap. He's tried wide zone. He's tried inside zone. He's tried all sorts of things and it never works. It hasn't worked yet. And they have no identity on how to do it. And I'm surprised the offensive linemen haven't, told him, hey, let's settle on one style of run game, right? Whether it be power. We did best at gap. Let's do power.
Well, and now you also have a problem too that you're giving the ball to the wrong running back.
Yeah, those outside runs should be going to Ty Chandler.
Yeah,
Right. You want the faster ones with
Yeah.
with an explosive burst.
right.
Yeah.
Which
You know-
Akers had Akers had that burst.
He
Yeah,
had more
but-
of it than Madison did.
Right,
Yeah.
but Madison is that plotting big
Plotting.
back
Mhm.
that if you want the short yardage and he might break it off all of a sudden, he's got 30 yards. He's a fullback. Back in the
he's
day, he
more-
would be a fullback.
Yeah.
Mhm, exactly.
But he's not your eye back, and he tiptoes to the line, and he doesn't hit the hole. I'm sorry, he's soft.
Well, and he misses holes. If you watch the all 22, it'll drive you absolutely bananas. When you see the run play and it's all blocked over here, there's a nice big gap right here, and he goes there and runs up the ass end of Cleveland or Darisaw or whomever was over there at
Right.
the time.
If you have NFL Plus, you can watch the all 22.
Here's the thing: when I watched the game, my girlfriend lives in California. She's a Falcons fan, so I'll be on the phone with her watching the games. She had to put me on mute because I'm screaming at the TV because Madison's missing the holes running into the line. I'm screaming like, "Where the hell are you running?" And I'm like, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Did you see that?" And she's like, "I know it was a good play for my team." No, it wasn't. It's because Madison missed a damn hole.
Now,
Right.
if you watch that game, you'll see Cam Akers runs where he's supposed to, and the
Mhm.
hole's not there, so he cuts it outside.
Right.
He can
Or
do
he
that.
cuts back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
or
can
he
do
has the
that.
ability to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Madison he's like Leroy Horde.
Madison
Yeah,
goes dead. He goes brain
Yeah.
dead. It's like if the hole's not there, he stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, where do I go? By that time, the defense is on your ass, and it's a 2-yard loss.
Exactly.
Now,
Now, I hope Ty Chandler, who has been both the
I don't care if he
offensive
can't pass
coordinator and KOC said we'll be getting split time this weekend or this Sunday.
somebody needs to hold him to that.
Yeah.
I hope gets at least 50% of the rushes, and let's see him break through, have those holes. It doesn't take a big hole. Everybody, there's been times when we see Ed Ingram will just destroy somebody and O'Neal will destroy somebody over here, and you could drive a Mack truck through that hole.
Right.
It's so big. But there's other times when the hole is only this big, and an NFL running back should be able to get through it.
You got to kind of sliver your way through it if you know how to navigate.
Have they made
And
a
then
decision
plant and go.
on a Conway, if they're bringing Kinney or if they're bringing up McBride? Have they decided on the third running back yet?
We haven't heard any. I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. Only thing I heard was they brought back Tanner Morgan for some reason.
Well, third quarterback.
No,
back.
Unfortunately, I'm hearing the third quarterback this Sunday is going to be Mannion.
The
No,
backup is
he
Mannion.
may be the backup.
Yeah, Mannion's the
QB2.
backup.
Oh,
Hall's still going to be on protocol.
Hall's on
Yeah.
protocol.
Yeah.
Mullins isn't back yet.
Nope.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
don't think
stuck with
Mullins
Mannion.
is brought up into the
Please, Dobbs, do not get hurt, buddy. Please.
3-week window yet.
Oh my God.
Oh God, I hope he does. Okay, so number one on the list is Randall Cunningham. At 97, the Vikings signed Randall Cunningham, who had been out of the game for the entire year because he was in Las Vegas. He was doing countertops, I believe.
Yeah, construction.
Construction, yeah.
Cunningham would come in as the backup to Brad Johnson, but ultimately replaced Johnson after a neck injury late in the season. All he did was help lead the Vikings to, all-time leading scorer, division 15-1 record. He threw for 3,700 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. His touchdown percentage was 8% that year.
Wow.
You know what? The only problem I have with that list, I would take Salisbury off of there and
Yes, I would
replace him with Gary Quazzo.
And this list is not old. This list is from October 27th of this year.
Yeah,
August 27th of this year.
Yeah, I would replace Gary. I would place Gary Quazzo, replace Sean Salisbury with Gary Quazzo. Because Quazzo actually played a lot with Cap here.
Yeah.
And then he got the gig because Cap held out. But he was Unitas's backup too. The reason he was put on the Viking radar is because we played the Colts in '65, and John Unitas didn't play. Well, they started Gary Quazzo, and Quazzo lit us up for 5 TD passes, beat us by 20 points. That stuck in Jim Finks's mind. That stuck.
Yeah.
So he always remembered that.
Yeah. So I mean, we all know Cunningham, 1998. So I guess with Josh Dobbs, I agree with Dave. This has the feel of the 2017 season. Just
Well, the thing with Dobbs is it's kind of refreshing having a mobile quarterback.
Mobility. Mhm.
That's
Never.
the whole thing. We're Viking fans, and we're seeing Dobbs doing runs and stuff. I'm like, what is this? I don't know what this is.
not since Tarkenton that we had a quarterback like
It's
this.
been 6 years since I've seen a
Culpepper.
quarterback run. Culpepper was the last one.
Well, I mean, I guess, but I mean,
Now, Culpepper wasn't necessarily speed.
Right.
Culpepper was linebacker-size human coming through
Right.
and killing you.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
And Case Keenum ran a little bit, but not.
It was scrambling, getting out of the way.
Gannon did run too.
Well, Gannon was fast,
Gannon actually did run. He actually
Yeah.
was a better runner than he was a passer there for a time.
and Joe Cap was a runner too.
Cap just ran out of pure anger, and I think he wanted to take shots at people. I think that's why he ran so much. It was personal.
Yeah.
But but the last one and for Fran to run as much as he did, he gained 1,000 yards going sideline to sideline.
Mhm.
he literally did. So
Viking. Yes, that is exactly who that is.
oh, that's Jimmy. Just
Jimmy
Kleinsasser.
Kleinsasser, my
Yeah,
favorite
Kleinsasser.
all-time Vikings player. Not the best Vikings player,
Oh no.
but my personal favorite. I watched him play up at UND because I was stationed up at Grand Forks at the time, and then he got drafted by Denny Green
Yep.
and became just a beast for Minnesota. We thought he'd catch more balls. He didn't, but he became the best pass-blocking tight end.
In the
They-
history.
It was like they didn't
One
know
of
what
my
to do with them. It's like 1 minute he's playing tight end, next minute he's playing fullback,
Mhm.
Yep.
and then he's H-back. It's kind of like, what are you guys going to do with him? It's like, but he was valuable. He really was. He was valuable.
His ability to pancake block a defensive tackle Oh,
Yeah.
it still gets me excited to this
Klein
day.
Saucer is the reason Michael Bennett gained 1,000 yards and became
Yeah.
a Pro Bowler
Mhm.
for that 1 year. Matter of fact, Klein Saucer is a big reason for the Ontario Smiths and the Michael Bennett's, and we had another Mwelde Moore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Walton Mwelde.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
for those of you who don't know Leroy Horde, he had one of the best quotes ever. You need 2 yards, I'll get you 3 yards. You need 7 yards, I'll get you 3 yards.
Frozen North. Yes, I was keeping us strategically safe. That is correct. I sat plenty of time on alert.
well, and quotes are funny as hell. That one's a good one, but I mean, it doesn't beat what Bum Phillips said about Earl Campbell. What was it? It's like, well, what if it's like 3rd and long, or something? He basically said, we'll give Earl the ball.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I forget what the guy said. He said, well, then we just won't give Earl the ball.
Well, I couldn't believe.
Yeah.
Did you know the size of Earl's thighs?
Oh, them monster things that he had.
They
And then
were
he had the big
32
pads.
inches in circumference. When I was a young airman up at Grand Forks, young NCO, had a 32-inch waist back then. Not even close now, but back then it was a 32-inch waist, and I could not imagine a man with two 32-inch thighs.
I didn't have
I mean, you'd see him, you'd watch him. He was built like a tank.
I haven't had a
And
32
they had
inch
those
waist since high
tearaway
school.
jerseys back then.
And then to make matters worse, he wore those big thigh pads.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like trying to tackle him is like, really?
And of course, back in the day when they had to rip off jerseys,
Mhm.
Yep.
and they'd
Well,
go
then-
through a half dozen in a game.
Right. And then he'd leave an imprint of his helmet in your chest, like he did
Yes.
Isaiah Robertson. And he's still running without a jersey.
Mhm.
And you're kind of like, really? No, no. Uh-uh.
So let's look at the guys who Tony Adams. He was a strike player, I believe, right?
Oh my God, a strike player. He was a chief. He was a chief most of his career. And then when the strike happened, the Vikings were like the last team to get players.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they were basically scraping the bottom for players. And they had Tony Adams. They had another guy playing quarterback. I forget his name. But
That
they
was
would
what,
alternate
87.
87, yep. But they would alternate plays.
Yeah.
I'm like, really, guys? You didn't take this very serious, did you? So, and thankfully the veterans came back and got righted the ship because we lost those 3 games and they counted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they were all division games.
I think they would have been the number 1 seed if they won those 3 games.
Yeah, but we lost
Yeah.
division games too, and we lost to the Bears twice that year. We lost to Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Chicago. And that was because of who Mike Lynn
Uh-huh.
decided to go
'Cause
after.
He didn't think that they need good
Yeah.
scab players,
Right.
and he thought it'd be real short, so he didn't go out and get them until he had to. at
Until
the
he
last
had to.
second.
And it's like, but all the other teams were gearing up for it. They had players signed, were ready to rock and roll. I mean, it got to the point where he was bringing back former Vikings to play. He brought back John Turner. He brought back Rufus Bess. He brought back a couple of other guys. But yeah, I mean, he was basically raiding the U for their players, University of Minnesota. But
I'm surprised he didn't call you, Tony.
And then
where was I? Hold on. I was at the U also. Was I? He probably
87?
would have saw me at some of the parties I went to back then, but I would have played. I mean, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So Bob Berry, he had 2 stints with the Vikings.
It's funny. Both Bob Berry and Bob Lee both play for Van Brocklin in Atlanta. Matter of fact, they traded Bob Lee to Atlanta for Bob Berry to bring him back in 73. It's kind of like, and Bob Berry did start in Atlanta, but if you ever see the highlights of the Vikings playing Atlanta those years, mostly all you think you see is a Purple People Eaters like just beating the hell out of them. But yeah, Bob was just he was one of those guys you didn't want to see play quarterback. You did not want to see Bob Berry in there. If he got in there, you would have to have had a 30-point lead. he just was not that dependable. He's steady, but
And then McLeod, Thompson, Bethel,
Mm-hmm.
Brooks, Bollinger, Rhett Bromar. I don't even remember him playing for Minnesota. Steve
Who's that?
Bono. Rhett
Who's it?
Bromar.
Who's that?
He went to Sam Houston State. I think he was an undrafted free agent. Steve Bono.
Bono played in one game with us, and it was
Yeah.
in that comeback game with Philadelphia in '85. He went like 1 for 10. Bud took him out and put Wade back in.
And then John David Booty, which I don't think he ever played.
Booty never played it down with
But
us,
this
I don't
guy
think.
should have got. I'm going to give this guy honorable mention, even though he was not listed. Todd Bauman.
I like Todd.
Yeah.
I like Todd. He had a big game against who was it? The Titans in 01.
Yeah, there was one game where he played really well.
That was, and I think that was the Titans. That 01 was just a bad year, period, for this team. But yeah, I think he finished out the season in 01.
And he actually played for my favorite World League NFL Europe team, the Barcelona Dragons. He played for them in '99 before he came to Minnesota.
That USFL Europe helped groom a whole bunch of backup quarterbacks.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It was a
it
good
did.
system.
Yeah, Brad Johnson was over there.
Mm-hmm.
well, was it? Did Kurt Warner played in it? He played in that league as well, right?
I
Or
believe,
no, he was strictly Arena League.
was
Was
he?
he strictly?
Yeah.
I thought maybe he might have played 1 year.
Yeah,
But
he was
no, I
strictly
think-
Arena League.
I think Todd Bauman deserves honorable mention. I don't know if you guys think he does, but I definitely.
I remember him, but I don't. I mean,
Why did the Vikings like Bollinger?
that was Bollinger was
There was a reason.
Childress's guy
Yeah, he knew the offense. I think
at
That's why they got
Wisconsin.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, and he played high school in Red River High in Grand Forks.
Yep.
He was
It
a
was-
local kid,
Yeah,
just like we always, he's one of us.
Todd Bauman went to St. Cloud State. So,
Yeah, there's
you know,
another.
yeah, he's one of us.
Yeah,
Wasn't he from like Ruthven, Minnesota, or something like that? He's a Minnesota guy. Wait a minute, didn't John Randall marry his sister?
I have no idea.
I want to say I think so.
Who
Hey.
introduced who?
Yeah, yeah, that's
That's
gonna
a
be
good question.
Hey, Mom,
Yeah.
Introduce me to your sister, or the sister.
Yeah.
Hey, introduce me to Johnny over there.
And then this
He
guy.
said, and he probably said, "Sure, so long as he don't hit me."
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you my sister to keep you from hitting me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little peace offering. It's flesh
Yeah.
and blood.
Then we also had Jay Fiedler.
Oh, Big Ear
Uh,
Jay. Yeah, we had Jay Fiedler.
Yeah.
Fiedler actually was on that '98 team.
Yeah. Jay Fiedler, 1998. He was the backup.
Yeah, he was. They were kind of worried because what was it? Cunningham had got hurt. I think the week before the game against Cincinnati, whoever we played, and they were kind of worried about were they going to play Fiedler or not. But they ended up playing Cunningham. So
And then Bubby Brister.
yeah, 2000, yeah, 2000, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, Matt Castle. He was also a backup. 2000, he played two. He only played 2 seasons. But then Gary Quazzo. We talked Steve Dills.
Oh, Dills took over for Kramer in '83, and they started out well, and then the season that was another year of injuries, and if anybody could get hurt, they got hurt, and he played it out. But like I said, Wade Wilson started the last game of the year that year. So
And then the greatest backup quarterback the Vikings have ever had, Josh Freeman.
Yeah.
why is he even on that list?
Because he played quarterback for the Vikings, so he's on the list.
If you're going to put Josh Freeman on there, where is Spurgeon Wynn?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going alphabetical. We haven't got to Spurgeon yet.
Oh God, you're in the Fs.
So yeah.
Oh my God.
So the Vikings have had a lot of quarterbacks. Not too many of them have been great. I'm just going to say that right now. Yeah, because Jaron Hall is already on here, but then Tyler Heineke, and then I
Heineke
don't
never
think,
played it down with us.
I haven't heard of this guy. 68 from Rice King Hill.
Yeah, he was our punter.
But
He was
he's
the only other guy to ever wear number 10. He had most of his playing was with the Eagles, I believe.
But he was a backup, I guess, because it doesn't have him listed as it doesn't say quarterback punter. It just says quarterback backup.
He was a punter that year because Bobby Walden they traded to Pittsburgh.
God, I'm just looking at this list and I'm like, I can't believe they had some of these guys play for the team. Sean Hill.
Yeah, we remember Sean.
Yeah, Sean Hill opened up the season in 2016.
Yep.
In Tennessee.
He started the one game that year, and I think
he started
the rest. Yeah,
And that was enough.
Yep. Kelly Holcomb.
Yes.
We got him from the Browns, I believe, right? Then
I think so, maybe.
Rest in peace, Tavares Jackson.
Yep.
Mhm.
Then they have Tommy Kramer. Was Tommy Kramer ever a backup? Was he a starter?
Yes, he was a backup.
Mhm.
Tommy was a backup.
But he didn't.
Tommy was actually third string. He was third string behind Tarkington and Bob Lee his rookie year.
But he didn't do anything as a backup, though, right?
Oh yeah, he's got the he made the comeback against the Niners in '77. That started his that whole 2-minute time, that comeback Tommy, that started his legend. That was the legend. 78, he's remembered because he suffered a concussion in a game, and you thought he died. The way the camera focused on him, and when he got hit, and the way he was down, and the way his hand shook, and then all of a sudden stopped, you were kind of like, "Oh, this is serious." He didn't play another down after that, but then 79 is when he became a starter. But yeah, he was a backup.
So then we got Archie Manning.
Yeah,
When was that? It had to have been after
83 and 84.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Archie is the one that took that beating in Chicago, and Steckel left him out there to take the beating. And the Bears literally, I think the one hit that people remember is the one where Todd Bell came on a blitz and literally snapped Archie's head back, and it would look bad.
Did anybody get beat up more than Archie in his NFL career?
No. Oh hell, he played when he's with the Saints. I mean, the Purple People Eaters sacked him 9 times in a game.
I was about to say it was a lot.
They sacked him 9 times, but they hit him like 30.
I mean, I know. I know
out-
David Carr got hit a lot. But I don't think
Manning took a lot of hits his career in New Orleans.
The only thing that came out healthy for Arch Manning is what dangles between his legs.
Yeah.
And he's
That's
produced some excellent progeny.
Yeah.
Well, Cooper's son's supposed to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, Cooper was supposed to be the best of the three.
Yeah.
So
What happened with Cooper?
He got hurt.
Some kind of injury, yeah.
Yeah, it was a knee or something, and it was
Yeah.
before the modern day medicine of they could fix it type deal, and he was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also probably said, "You know what? One injury, that's enough for me. I'm done with this."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he saw his dad. I mean, the boys grew up seeing their dad get beat. He had to sit in ice baths and do whatever to recover.
Well, there were some years that
because those Saints were so bad for so long.
Saints were horrible.
Yeah, I think
were
them and the Bucks
horrible.
have the 2 worst winning percentage of professional franchises, I believe. But they got them damn rings, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I put an asterisk by that Saints ring. God damn it!
Oh yeah. And then the hideous Sean Mannion, who we unfortunately have back up on Sunday.
Again.
John McCormick in 62.
Before my time.
I'm sure he probably saw action the way that Van Brocklin felt about Tarkenton.
Then Jim McMahon in 93.
McMahon was a starter.
They got him as a backup. Was he supposed to be the backup that year? Was he the starter?
No, he was a
he
starter.
was a starter.
He was a starter.
Well, I know he
Now,
started.
he didn't play all the games.
Right.
but he was a starter. He played
10
What
games
was
that
it?
year.
93.
And then they got Donovan McNabb listed because he became the backup after he stunk up the joint.
Now, it may have been the next year he.
1993, he
Well-
started 12 games.
No, he was a starter with the Vikings. McMahon was
Right.
always a starter with the Vikings. That's why they signed him as a free agency.
Yeah,
That's why
12
they signed
games.
Yep.
And the
Yeah,
playoffs.
McNabb was actually a starter. Then he became a backup, but I think he had actually left the team. I think McNabb left the team in 11.
I don't know. It wasn't soon enough. He was done.
Yeah.
He was washed.
He was just toast.
His
then,
arm was shot.
Larry Miller. I don't know if you know him from the 60s or not, Tony.
I've heard of him.
Mike Romero from 2001. Or Romero Miller, I think.
Romeo Miller.
Is that how you
Romero
say his
Miller?
name? It's not. Yeah. Romaro.
Oh, Romero.
Romero Miller. Then
Yeah.
Kellen Mond.
Yeah, Mond.
Mon never played it down.
Thankfully.
Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JT O'Sullivan.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a what you call a guy. He was a O'Connell guy.
Well, he has a great video.
or
on
not
YouTube.
O'Connell, but Childress. He was a
Yeah,
Childress.
he breaks down film on YouTube. It's really awesome.
Yep.
Christian Ponder.
Next.
I didn't even know he played for Minnesota. Patrick Ramsey,
What year?
He's familiar.
2010.
He never played it down with us. He must have been on the practice squad.
And then Jerry Renkow. I think we talked about him. He was
Jerry Reichow?
Yeah,
Reichow was a wide receiver.
it's on here. It has him as offensive end and quarterback.
When
From
the hell did he
61
play quarterback?
Maybe he was an emergency quarterback.
Maybe
or
he
something.
was listed as a backup quarterback for one game. So this list doesn't say they actually played. It says like if
They were
they were
just
ever.
on the team listed.
They were on the team list because he was a wide receiver.
Yeah. And then I saw this name in the chat, Sage Rosenfels.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Sage. Yeah.
Rosencopter.
Yep. And then George Shaw.
Yep.
Yeah,
so-
he played a down or two. He played a couple of series, and then his career was over with the Vikings.
Yeah, let's see here. So it just says NFL, AFL on here for his career. So he was 30. He had 91 attempts, 46 completions for 50% completion, 530 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, once Fran got in there, Fran wasn't giving up that starting spot.
Nor should have.
Yeah.
He was the better quarterback.
Now when
By
you look
far.
at numbers like that. And then,
You look at numbers like that and you think, hey, they had to have a heck of a running game.
well, they didn't, I don't think.
Yeah. Like I said though, Fran was freaking 1,000-yard runner running sideline to sideline.
Well, we're talking on the show before this. Yogi was talking, and Skull for Life brought up that we don't want a quarterback that's the leading rusher. Well, there's been times that we've won with the quarterback being the leading rusher, and two
Yeah.
recent examples are Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson doing it for their teams.
Well-
McNabb did it before. Tark's done it for us.
Naturally, you want a
You want a
wanna-
running back. You want a
you
running
want a
back.
running back to do it, or you want a pocket quarterback. You
Well,
want it to,
Dobbs was leading rusher for Sunday.
Mhm.
yeah, and he'll
so-
probably be the leading rusher this
That's what we
Sunday.
were talking about on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
probably be the leading rusher this Sunday.
I
Unless
hope Chandler goes off. I would
unless
love to
they
see
get this
him do
running
that.
game, which you can run on the Saints. Unless you get
Yeah.
this running game going, which they need to. I mean, just stick with it. I don't care if you lose 2 yards, 1 yard. Just stick with it. Don't give up.
Yeah.
You know. But I think with the mobile quarterback, that kind of changes everything.
Now, Gary, you're not talking to yourself. I don't have my setup yet. I'm only using one screen right now. So it's hard for me to do the research and put comments up at the same time.
Well, and believe it or not, when you see me turn my head, I'm looking at a different monitor, which I'm doing. If we were all rich and won the lottery, we'd
Yeah.
have teleprompters in front of us and all
Yes.
sorts of computer setups. So we'd
We'd have a
look straight
director,
at
we'd have
what
a
we're
producer.
researching.
Yeah, we'd have a director, a producer, an editor.
Yep.
We would just show up, do the show, and go home.
Yeah. I mean, I've got like one TV. I've got both my TVs in here. One has got sports highlights on it and betting. The other one's playing an old Led Zeppelin concert. So, you know.
Oh, you want a story about them?
My wife hates Led Zeppelin. I almost divorced her.
Is she American?
I
What the hell are you gonna-
I even played her Black Dog, and she didn't like that song. I'm like,
How the hell are you going to hate Led Zeppelin? Come on now.
oh,
I
you
was
should
in
talk,
high
I can let
school.
my
It
dog back
was-
in.
79 or 80, maybe 81. We had tickets to go see them. We bought them. We were going to drive up from Nashua, New Hampshire to Montreal, Canada to watch them.
Mm-hmm.
We had tickets on that Friday. Most money I'd ever spent on a rock concert ticket, $35. John Bonham died that Tuesday.
I was getting ready to say, that's when Bonham died, isn't it?
My dumbass got my money back from my ticket. I should have saved the
Should
ticket.
save the tickets. Now, you weren't thinking at the time, you're like, just give me my goddamn money.
Oh, yeah, because $35 got you,
Yeah.
and
And it would have been rock and roll history.
mhm.
God, I was in like junior high when I heard he died. People were just like, "You heard what happened?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" John Bonham died. I'm like, "What?" You know, that type of thing. Because I had already went through it with Bon Scott dying for AC/DC earlier in the year. So I'm like, "What the hell? This year sucks." And then a month later, John Lennon's dead.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, okay, what the hell's going on here? What the hell? You know, that type of thing. But yeah.
Gary asks, we all played football. What was your favorite plays you remember from the football days? You and I were linemen for the most part. I played tight end and defensive end as well.
I played defensive end.
I was a nose tackle.
And I loved defensive end because I had one
did.
responsibility. It was kill the quarterback. That was it.
That was my job.
All job.
You're
I was
not.
supposed to keep contained on the way
Yeah.
in. And if I saw a running back go across my face, I'd go out with him. And on defense, we played real similar to what they play now,
Yeah,
where it's a 5-man line.
you played a
And-
5-2.
Right. And
Yeah,
we-
that was
as
like standard. Yeah,
as the defensive ends, we were the edge rushers, but we also had flat responsibility if a screen was coming our way.
not me. I'm just going after the quarterback. I don't care. It's like
I was-
That was it. And like I said, I've said numerous times, there's no greater sound on this planet than when you sack that quarterback, take him to the ground, and hear the air expel from his lungs.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I was 6'2" and 295 when I played. I wasn't covering anybody in the flat.
I was D end, sometimes inside linebacker. I just loved hitting people.
Mhm.
And we were playing this one team. It got to the point where I hit the guy so much. He's like, I'm sick of looking at your ass. Okay. I don't want to fucking look at you. And like, okay. So I hit him again, knocked him out of the game. I'm like, you don't got to see me no more.
I remember still, there's one tackle lines up. I line up against the tackle. I was playing defense time, played Iron Man, played both ways.
Mhm.
But I'm lining against tackle, and he flinches. I step into a plant, forearm shiver up, bam! About 5 yards, and he's like, and here it comes the umpire, beep, flag, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, illegal movement, offense, and then he blows the whistle again, second flag, phew, illegal roughness, defense, and my head coach goes, do it again, Dave, do it again.
God,
Yeah, I played-
and even when I coached semi-pro, the funniest part was I'm just jaw jacking with the opposite team.
Uh-huh.
Well, midway through the game, we're having a conversation like we're best friends. I'm like, you ain't gonna tell me to play? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna tell you to play. You'll figure it out when it's run. but how's the family? You know, that type of thing. It's, you know, it's little things that you remember. When my playing days were over, at least I stayed in the game with semi-pro. That's how I met Yogi, was through semi-pro football. You still stay connected to the game. This keeps me connected. But yeah, like I said, I tore my Achilles playing pro football, and I remember when I did that. That's the thing I remember the most. Tearing my Achilles.
Gary played tight end and defensive end. Cool.
Yeah, I never had a serious injury.
Oh, I did.
I had a high ankle sprain, which still I can tell when it's raining. My trainer said my high ankle sprain was so bad I would have been better off breaking my ankle as opposed to getting a high ankle sprain. I was out for like 6 weeks, and I have a high pain tolerance, and you just can't move when you have a high ankle sprain. It just it just hurts too much. And what happened was the high school field I was playing on, the field was so bad. You know how they have the sprinklers that go down into the ground. So most fields like cover it up, or they're on the very sideline, whatever. Well, this school had their sprinkler like right in the middle of the field, so it was probably like a 2.5 to 3, probably would say an 1.5 to 2 inch hole. And I'm just running full speed. Also, I just crumbled like a house of cards. It was the most, like I have like no cartilage in I got like an arthritic shoulder and stuff like that when I got, and I'd rather have that injury 10 times out of 10 than have a severe high ankle sprain. It hurts like
yeah, exactly. No, Zoe, I played semi-pro. Ball. That's how and coach semi-pro. That's how I met Yogi in semi-pro football here in the Twin Cities.
I got to play with when I was stationed overseas, because the overseas bases, the military, both Air Force, even the Navy, if they had enough people on port at their bases, and the Army had teams. We played full tackle.
Yeah, those were. I heard about those all the time. Those type of games.
They were basically semi-pro.
Yeah.
We had a semi-pro team down in Swindon, England, that we'd go out and help as we're teaching the local Brits. This is how you play football. This is how you get in a stance. This is how you come out of a stance. This is how you block. This is how you put your hands when you want to catch football.
But
overhead, blow, whatever.
Yeah, and remember, if it hits you in your hands, you can catch it.
Yep. I could catch just about anything thrown to me except for a perfect pass at the numbers.
Okay, KJ.
It was
hit him in the wrong spot, hit him in his hands.
Yeah.
And the reason is I go like this, the ball would be coming, and it'd be perfect, and I'd go like this and turn my head to see where I was running every single time. But if it was down at my shoelaces, no problem.
Yeah.
Way out wide, I grab the ass end of the ball, no problem. Up high, I may only jump this high, but I jump. Numbers, I was fucked. I would tell my quarterbacks, throw at my face, because that's why I preferred the ball.
Right.
Throw it at my face. Some wide receivers, even today, don't like it at their face. Others do. And that's a thing that Josh Dobbs has to learn. Where does his receivers like the ball? Are they good at like it behind them?
Yeah.
Can they do that? Do they know that if it's behind him, he wants you to turn that direction? All sorts of things that happen in football. Are they bad at the face? Do they not? I've got a picture that you'll see on Saturday of Olave, and he misses the ball. He's up here like this, and his hands are like this, and the ball glances right off the front of his helmet. Blink.
That's Troy Williamson-esque.
Yes, Williamson was the worst. Absolute worst. But like I said, some people like it. Some wide receivers or tight ends throw it at my face. I'm going to catch it every time. Others, it's no, I don't want it at the face. And a quarterback's got to learn that. Hopefully Dobbs learns it now. We were lucky. We're in a magical season. And we're lucky last Sunday. Let him get used to these people. And then when JJ comes up, I don't think it matters where you throw it to JJ. He's going to catch it.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. I think having a quarterback like Dobbs for JJ, it's probably going to open up that offense even more. And that's the scary part.
Well, who do they double? Addison or JJ?
They'll double JJ.
They'll double JJ. They'll play it safe and double JJ.
But what it does, talking to the Saints guys this week, they can't stand running quarterbacks. Their defense is good. It ranks 6th or 7th or some shit like that. And their defensive secondary is their best part. But when they cover, they're covering their wide receivers.
Yeah.
They let running quarterbacks free. And Dobbs is a running quarterback.
Now we have a running quarterback.
So what that does to a defense is instead of, all right, I'm backpedaling on my wide receiver, I can turn my hips and go with him. Now, if they do that, or if they're sitting there playing zone, now they've got to keep an eye back on the quarterback, because if they turn their back on the quarterback's going to squirt up.
Yeah.
That's how it's a read that Dobbs should have. If everybody turns their back on you, you go. That should be an automatic. It's not, I'm reading deep, I'm reading this. But if you see backs do this to you, go. Because you're going to have the space to get open. And they're supposedly bad at that. Now, bring in Justin Jefferson and have Addison, and then, of course, TJ being the safety blanket. You're going to have 2 backs go with JJ. You're going to have at least 1 back go with Jordan Addison. So that's 3 of your deep backs, no matter what defense we're playing, that are going to be beyond 15 yards. You'll have usually 1 guy, linebacker, corner covering TJ. There's a whole lot of green space up in there.
And we forgot about Brandon Powell.
Yep. And all he's got to do is, hey, if TJ's doubled and JA's wide open, Addison's wide open, he can dump it to Addison. However he wants. But again, he's got that additional read of, I've got a whole lot of green space there. And I've got a hole.
Well, he did exactly Sunday what I thought. Because if it's 3rd and 3 and you have a hole and you can run for it, something Cousins doesn't do, which frustrates me about Cousins, run for it, which he did. I mean, he had that touchdown run. He had that on when he did one where he dropped the ball on the last drive.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that in so long because we're used to Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford, Kirk Cousins, guys who don't move. So this is kind of exciting to watch. And real quick, Nug, you can come. Tony and I do a bi-weekly status of the NFC North show. We do that Friday night. You can come on that show. This is a Vikings history show that kind of turned into kind of
turned into a scouting report for Sunday's game.
Exactly. We got Dave. We got Dave on here.
Yeah.
So, but to finish that list, we had after Simeon, we got Sloter.
Yeah.
Norm Snead.
Oh, we forgot about Norm. Well, yeah, he was forgettable his year here.
Yeah. Here's a name, a blast from the past, Gino Torretta.
Yes.
Heisman flop.
Yep.
Is all I'm going to say. Heisman flop.
And then
you still have those today.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people that win a Heisman don't make that transition.
Yep.
Ron Vanderkellen.
You know what? He came out of Wisconsin. High hopes.
Yep.
And they just came off of winning the Big Ten title. Controversial call there. But he gets to the Vikings, and he did play. He did play some. He even played. Bud Grant kept him around for a year or 2, so he did see action.
I think we talked about that on that one the show that we did prior. He came in and played that one game at the end of the season. I think it was.
Yeah, he did, and he did a lot of spot duty.
And then someone mentioned Joe Webb in the chat earlier. Started that playoff game.
I did like Joe Webb. I didn't have a problem with him.
Well, I think Joe Webb was too early. I think if Joe Webb came out now, he'd have a much better career than what he did.
Well, and Joe was also the product of they didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I would have loved to seen a quarterback coach refine his throwing. Yeah. The dude could throw a football 75 yards.
Yeah.
It just wasn't accurate all the time.
But Dave, wasn't that supposed to be Childress?
Yeah. You were probably watching or reading Luke's locker room at the time when I was absolutely railing on Brad Childress.
Joe Webb is going to start this week for us, and kick-ass offense.
I've heard some. I mean, Mike Tyson's pressers weren't the most they were kind of painful, but
Right.
Childress's took the cake.
The only
Yeah.
good thing about Childress is that one time when he came out with the visor with the fake hair.
When the hell did you do
Was that the Sean Payton making fun of Sean Payton or something like that? I think it was.
It
Oh,
may have
no.
been-
It was like the big hat craze. I think back then it was the visor with the hair. It was a Gruden
it was a
thing
visor
or-
and it had fake hair.
Yeah,
And it looked like he had a head of hair and he went like almost punk.
yeah.
And it was all spiked up and it was hilarious because he was balder than a cue ball.
Yeah, he was Major Dad Part 2.
Yeah. And it
Oh,
was,
Norfolk,
it was
you know
hilarious.
Todd
He did that
Bauman?
for one game.
Dumb as a stump.
Yeah, then there's a couple more left. Jay Walker from Howard.
Yeah, he was Denny liked him a lot.
And then the last, we already talked about Wade Wilson, so the last one is Spurgeon Wynn.
Spurgeon.
Oh, Spurgeon win, yeah. Yeah, that is a rather forgettable list of Viking backups. It
Well,
really
hell,
is.
even the starting list would be forgettable.
Well, and put it this way. This is just us at like how many 60 some odd years as a team, as a franchise.
Yeah,
Just think about the Bears
Well,
and
let's
the
say the
Packers
Browns.
and the Browns and the Lions. I mean, there's a Cincinnati.
well, since Lane supposedly put that curse on the Lions, they had Mitchell had a good year, and that's about it.
Well, you
Yeah.
had, when did Lane do that? Because you had,
Well, Lane, I think, he was in Pittsburgh by 60.
right, but you had in the 70s, he's my OC in high school. It was Landry.
Yeah, Greg Landry, yeah, Bill Munson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then
And-
in the 80s, they got Eric Hipple and Gary Danielson.
I remember Hipple.
And then they had Bob Gagliano. Then they got Rodney Pete.
well, they were
drafted
so
Rodney
bad. A
Peete.
Remember
reporter played
Pete?
quarterback for him in the preseason.
They had Andre Ware. They had Eric Kramer. God, who else? Scott Mitchell.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mitchell had the good season
Mitchell
Yeah,
had
he
the
had
good
that season with the Dolphins, and then
with the
after he got-
Dolphins. Yeah.
And we dodged that bullet because Denny Green wanted Scott
Mhm.
Mitchell badly. After Mitchell, it was Charlie Batch.
Yeah,
And then from Charlie Batch, it was
they had Joey
God.
Harrington,
They had Joey Harrington. They had Ty Detmer. They had
Mike McMahon,
Mike McMahon. They
Dan
had
Orlowski.
Dan Orlowski. I'm going to run out of the stadium to
Oh.
avoid Jared Allen Orlowski.
From what I gather, he still gets pissed off when people bring up that.
Oh yeah, people bring him up. Yeah, when people
Oh
bring
my!
up-
He,
yeah.
he literally was running out of the stadium.
I know.
I'm like, it's like, dude, game's still going.
But
Oh.
the Lions, even though I had a long list, they haven't been as bad as the Browns and the Bears. Where
Well, the
you
Browns.
know,
And,
you
well,
see their jerseys and then it's got
ever
this
since the
long-ass
Browns-
trail.
Unfortunately, ever since the Browns have come back, it's been hell.
Well,
You know.
well,
it's
even
just-
before that, I mean, they had Kozar, they had Sipe.
yeah, they had
so-
Kozar and Sipe.
Not great quarterbacks.
Not great. I mean,
Right,
Sipe
but-
was good, and then they got
So-
Kozar, who the Vikings wanted.
Well, since
Grant
Otto
wanted
Graham, they really
bad.
haven't had a great quarterback.
Right.
No, yeah, Otto Graham. They had Frank Ryan, who won a championship with them.
Yeah.
We beat Bill Nelson in the championship game. Now Nelson was like one of the best QBs of that era, and we handled him in the championship game. They had Mike Phipps.
Yeah.
Mike Phipps was supposed to be that. He was a Purdue quarterback. He was supposed to be that continued lineage.
And before
TYA.
the Packers had their run of Favre and Rodgers back to back, their quarterbacks were just as awful.
Well, and now here's the thing now with Packers fans, and this is what they're going to have to get ready for. You had that stretch between
Bart Starr.
Bart Starr and I'm going to say Favre, where
Yeah.
you had quarterbacks that were less than memorable. You had one that became an actor, Carlos Brown, who
Right.
changed his name to Alan Autry. Now he's Carlos Autry or something like that. But he was a starting quarterback for the Packers at one time. Then you get Favre, then you get Rodgers.
No, you had Jaws in there at one point in time.
Yeah, he was in Jaws was before Favre.
Mm-hmm.
Jaws gets hurt, and then it's Favre's. And from Favre until Rodgers is what we have now. So I'm telling Packer fans to probably prepare for the 68 to 92 years. So, and it also probably goes with coaches. So, yeah.
I just can't see how the Packer fans couldn't see this coming, because when Rodgers was hurt, they weren't very good.
Because they're blinded with their love of their game, or their team. We're looking for a Packers affiliate for Fans First Sports Network, because the one we had, like their team this year, couldn't hack it. So,
well, this is something for this generation of Packer fans. They can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Oh, they were having
Yeah.
They're going to have difficulty, because most Packer fans, I think like 75 or something like in the 70% of Packer fans are under 40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
they don't remember the days when they played half the games in Milwaukee.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I come in and remind them.
I mean, I remember. Yeah. I remember when the Bears and the Packers would play, and I remember where there was a play. I think the first time instant review was in the game. Mikowski threw a pass.
He was over the line.
They called him on the line of scrimmage, but then they reviewed it, and he wasn't. So the Packers won that game, and I think the Packers ended the season like 3-13, and the Bears finished the season like 4-12. But
that was the year the Packers were they lost the division to the Vikings 10-6. That was 89. Yeah, he threw. Matter of fact, the receiver was Sterling Sharp.
Yeah, well, so was Sterling Sharp wearing that helmet with like the clip on the back?
Yeah, because he had the neck injury.
So
yeah, he had a neck injury, and plus he wore the neck brace that usually linemen wear.
Yeah, but
he had already had that neck problem. And
I forgot. Viking funerals in Wisconsin.
Oh God.
Hey, you know what though? You could tell them and say, you know what? Dobbs is better than Love.
There's a whole lot of quarterbacks better than Love.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? The Packer fans should have knew when he lined in that game against Atlanta, when he lined up, when he had that drunken fall at the end of the game.
The butt stumble.
Yeah, he looked like he just got out of the bar at closing time when he got up to the line. I'm just you guys ain't going nowhere with him. But yeah, this is something new for them. This is completely new. Just like, with the whole Lions thing. Now the Lions are competitive. They've always been competitive, but they're winning.
Relatively.
Yeah, they're winning. I mean, they've had their years.
At least once a decade.
Well, win a division once every 30 years is a goal, I guess.
Yeah. Well, remember, for years, there was if there was going to be a team that was going to knock off the Vikings, knock off the Bears, knock off the Packers, it would be the Lions. But then the Lions would do Lions things to just ruin the whole season.
I'm happy. I mean, I don't think anybody dislikes the Lions.
No,
they're our division rivals, but I have a soft spot for them because of the bullshit they went through.
Yeah.
And how bad they've been for so long.
And how bad they've been. I mean, you guys didn't win a game one
year.
Well,
no, I'm not talking about you. You're actually a reasonable Lions fan, but there are Lions fans who do come in here talking like the Lions are like the Ravens or something.
Yeah.
Talking like they've been a winner for year after year after year. And that's when I say, well, win a division once every 30 years, I guess.
I mean, the Lions have that dubious task of winning all their preseason games and losing all their regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a hell of a. Since it was the NFC Central.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They won it in 91
and 93.
91 and 93, yeah.
Yep.
And that's only because Minnesota couldn't get their act together, and the Bears, they beat the Bears a couple times. They caught lightning. They caught a momentum because that's the same year Utley got hurt, Mike Utley.
Yeah.
So they kind of rode that wave.
Was it
In 91.
91 or 93? They lost in the NFC Championship game to the
91,
Cowboys.
they got shut. 91, they lost to the Washington Redskins. I'm calling them the Redskins. I don't give a fuck. The Redskins.
That's who they were then.
Yeah, they lost to the Redskins 45-0.
Yeah, was that the? I thought they lost to the Cowboys in the championship game.
No, they beat the shit out of the Cowboys a week earlier, 30-6.
But 93 though they lost in the playoffs. Maybe that was to the Cowboys.
That was the Packers.
Okay.
The Packers beat them.
Okay. Well, I don't know why in my mind I have them losing to the Cowboys. I don't know.
Thinking
Matter of
of
fact,
the
matter of fact,
Thanksgiving Day game.
the Cowboys were their
Yeah.
last playoff win.
They should have beat them again, but they got robbed in that playoff game. So yeah, no, we're happy that you guys are having a good season. Don't get us wrong. You know,
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
we,
I have no problem with
We would much
the
rather
Lions.
have you win than the
Yeah.
Bears or the Packers.
I have no problem with the Lions
Especially
in
the
first
Packers.
place, especially
Yeah.
the Packers.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? It's like if everything had worked out for the Packers this year and Love is
Oh, God.
playing well, we'd never hear the end of it. Never hear the end of it. Now you can't. I mean, you have to literally do a welfare check on Packer fans because that's how bad the season is.
Yeah.
You know, you're literally like whatever fans you had. God rest his soul. My buddy Chris was a big time Packer fan, but whenever they lost, he went ghost. So, you know, but now if he was alive and he was watching his team, I'd seriously have to go up to northern Minnesota and do a welfare check on his ass and make sure he's still with us. I mean, that's how it is. That's how they are.
If to answer your question, do they have a genuine chance to win or do we think they have a genuine chance to win the division? The only thing that would keep them from it is if we keep pace and then beat you guys twice.
Yeah.
That would take an awful lot with all the injuries and outs we have. So, yes, I do believe they have a genuine chance of winning this division.
That they put it this way
But they might play the Vikings in the playoffs.
Well, as it sits right now,
They
we're the
would've.
7th seed, and we played them.
Yeah.
play him.
And I saw a tweet today where they ran 50,000 simulations, and it came out the same thing. Lions are the 2nd seed. We're the 7th. We'll play him. So that would be 3 games in 4 weeks.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, here's a kicker for the Lions too. At the end of the year, between those 2 games with the Vikings, I think they go to Dallas.
I don't know. I'd have to look.
I think at the end of the year, they got to make a trip to Dallas to face the
For
Cowboys.
the Lions, yeah, they still got to play
Yeah.
the Cowboys.
Yeah, in Dallas.
They have 2 hard games. Well, technically, they have 3 teams left that are hard: Minnesota, Dallas, and there's one more who they play. That's a good team. Everybody they pretty much have the same schedule as us.
Right.
The same players. They have the Chargers Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they have Chicago. And then on Thanksgiving, they have Green Bay. Should be a great way to start your Thanksgiving, folks. Noon
Yeah.
o'clock
Wow.
game. Detroit beating Green Bay.
Especially
Will
you,
be-
Nug.
Wow,
You're gonna have
I'm
a
gonna
good
be. You
Thanksgiving.
know what? That'll be one Thanksgiving I will enjoy.
And
I will literally enjoy it.
after that, they have New Orleans and then Chicago. Then they go out to Denver, TBD. And then they have us, Dallas, us.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a rough
They
That-
got
Those
to.
last
very
three games are
end
pretty
of the
tough.
schedule is going to be rough on them.
Yeah.
And right now they don't have. Do they? Are they down running backs or what's the deal? They
Well,
can't
according to
run the ball
Nug, he
either?
said. According to Nug,
This week.
Oh
is the
yeah,
first
it's
full week.
that's been like that for years.
well, there is no such thing as a complete game.
yeah, we have yet to play one.
Mhm.
We have yet to play one.
Even when they play great, there's always something they can do better. And
And
there's no such thing.
Is
as
it
a
safe to
complete
say
game.
that in KOC's time here, he has yet to really have that complete game? Maybe the Packer game at the first
No,
one.
he is yet.
Yeah, he
yeah.
has yet.
He's
He has-
we keep watching him, or I keep seeing him grow little by little over last season, and then this season dealing with the adversity and all the stuff he did on Sunday, which was great. You know, talking through the headset and translating and all that,
yeah.
and keeping up with his head coaching duties, managing the clock. He didn't screw that up on Sunday. All those other things, getting players in and out. He did a marvelous job, but he has yet to call a perfect game. Heck, we already talked about it. He can't figure out how to run the ball.
I kind of want him to give up play calling duties, but that's just me.
And I've said that too.
Yeah.
Let him focus. And I don't know. We've played 9 games so far.
Mhm.
What in the games we had good rushing attacks? What running system did we use? Do you
Zone
know?
blocking?
No, we used gap.
Gap.
Okay.
That was gap.
And I would prefer, since that worked the best, go to the gap.
We don't have the offensive lineman to run zone, right?
Well, that's originally how we're built. Is
Yeah,
to
we're
run
built as a-
outside zone. Now Ed Ingram is not a zone blocker, and
Reisner.
Reisner's not either.
is not zone. They're more power now. So
And that's the thing though, as the season goes on, you could do this in late games. Take it to the defense, wear them down.
yeah,
Go
punch
old
him in the
school.
mouth.
Old
Yeah.
school
I'm in the
smash
middle.
mouth football.
Well, that's how
Just
the
start,
Falcons.
just
I
start.
was, I was doing their live broadcast. I was saying that the only team that has really physically beat the Vikings this year was Eagles, and why? Because they ran the ball pretty much the whole
And they
second half.
punched us in the mouth.
They punched
Right.
us in the mouth.
And the Falcons did the exact same thing on that last touchdown drive. They had 13 plays, 12 straight runs. They punched
problem-
Vikings in
The problem is the identity with this team is, and since KOC's got here, it's a finesse team. They just don't have it's physically, I don't know what it is. It's like they don't have power.
Well, hopefully they're in the transition
night
of
Northeast.
getting power. Because we know Darisaw
Right.
is a beast.
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't matter. Whatever system, he's a beast.
Right.
Well, now we have Reisner, who focuses on power, very good pass blocker.
Very good pass blocker, yeah.
Ed is more power. O'Neal is fine over on the other side, even though he's fast for a right tackle.
Well, he played
And-
tight end first in college, didn't he?
Yeah.
He transferred
Yeah.
to tackle.
He
Yeah.
moved
He
in,
moved inside.
and then the only relative weak spot is Bradbury, and Bradbury,
Who they brought back for 3 years. Now, please explain that one.
Yeah, but he's improving.
Yeah, but he saved the Vikings Sunday because Josh Dobbs didn't know. Bradbury pretty much took over.
Yeah, that's where the
offensive
brains
calls.
comes in.
Yeah,
That's where the brains comes in.
And the only thing that Dobbs screwed up was on that snap, and it was a zone run play. Bradbury was reaching across to get
yeah.
the defensive tackle this way. And when Bradbury steps and moves, that big ass goes around this way,
Yeah.
and the leg and the ass hit the ball as he was pulling out because Dobbs didn't know that he's got to move as he pulls that ball out. But he'll learn that. That's what KOC's for. So I have no problem with that. But I see us, Tony, trying to transition to a more power system, or at least a more even split.
RPOs maybe.
More physical?
Yeah. That's
It'd
the
be
only way we're
nice.
going to get the run going.
Yeah, that's the only way we can. It's the only way we can. We're just pass. But with Kirk gone now, that changes your offensive philosophy altogether.
Well, it has to.
Yeah.
You got to be, as I said on one bar, Lepicus, I think it was the post game show, said right now the Vikings are like a military unit. They're adapting and they're overcoming and they're adjusting.
Yep.
And now, I got to put this out there. We don't know what would have happened with Jaron Hall if he completes that TD pass to Hawkinson
Instead of running.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we don't. It's it's the butterfly
Very
effect
unknown.
deal. We have no idea how that would have gone, and we may not have ever.
Yeah.
Now,
seen
here's
the
my
Dobbs
question
win.
for you guys. And my answer, I'll tell you what my answer is if I ask you. The game we just had on Sunday, do we win that game with Kirk?
Yes.
Yes, but
game's not even
that game
close to
doesn't look
Clemson's
anything
playing.
like it did, though.
Yeah. I think that's a two touchdown win with Kirk.
Yeah, and like I said, it doesn't look anything like what we saw.
Yeah.
It's the traditional. We're sending Jordan Addison down and TJ, and they're getting lots of balls, and Osborne across the middle, and whatever.
Because if you notice a couple of times in that game, Josh Dobbs threw the ball late because he didn't know exactly where the receiver was. But there was times where Addison was wide open, and Cousins would have hit him.
And that's what's going to happen when you
Yeah.
don't. I mean, you got
Yeah.
here Wednesday. You didn't take any snaps with the team at all.
Yeah.
I don't think he did at all. He got here. They
No,
didn't
he had-
expect him to
he had
play.
0 snaps before.
Yeah.
he
0
did.
snaps.
And
They
then
gave him 20 plays.
he traded him
Learn.
Tuesday. He got here Wednesday. They
Yep.
gave him to walk through Wednesday and Thursday or whatever. So basically, he didn't even know his teammates.
Heck, he said he had a hard time getting through the building.
Yeah.
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 It
You
was
know?
it was crazy. No, but the game would have been totally different if it was a normal Kirk game.
Yeah. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
Do they
at least.
still win though?
Yeah, they win by
I
2
think without
touchdowns.
a doubt.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you got to think about the Falcons would have been behind, then they would have had to pass the whole time, and with our pass rush,
Now here's my question. How come? Here's the thing with Kirk. How come we couldn't score in the red
30
zone?
points.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to play calling by KOC. I mean, come on, you're doing the tush push with a guy who has chicken legs.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't be doing it in the first place when you got to stay soft marshmallow at center.
Exactly.
Well,
That's
give
what I'm saying.
And the perfect person probably for it is Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Or have CJ Ham get behind the
or
center.
Ham.
Yeah.
Yes, we have Ham. Do
Yeah.
that. But either one, I think it's play calling at that point, Tony. I think you're right.
The
on that.
the meltdowns in the red zone. You give that to play calling?
Mhm, for
Well,
the
I
most
mean-
part.
I mean, Cousins did miss Addison in the Packer game when he, for that touchdown. But I mean, it does happen. Quarterbacks these passes. But having a mobile quarterback, if Dobbs wasn't mobile, they wouldn't have scored as many points because him being mobile. But if Cousins is a quarterback,
Cousins will get the ball out faster. He's
Yeah.
more accurate. Now, Cousins will also, if he runs into trouble, especially in the red zone, he'll aim for the seats
yes,
and he'll give it up. And
And he'll
especially when he
also
does
hang
that
on.
on a
He'll
third
also
down,
hang. He'll also hang on to the damn ball too long.
sometimes,
yeah,
and it irritates us to no end. But this year, he was playing better than he ever had. That's
Yeah.
why it was. My opinion about the man. He was playing his best football of his life.
Oh, he's top
this
5
year.
quarterback
I
before he
had,
got hurt.
you know what? I had to give the guy compliments, and everybody knows how I feel.
I can
about
see
him.
the pain in his face. when
My
he was doing it.
God, I had to give him compliments. I had to give KOC compliments. They were killing me this year. I'm like, okay, even when I do my takes, I'm like, I can't complain. I can't. They're doing what they're
takes,
supposed
by
to
the way.
do. Huh?
Your video takes
Mm-hmm.
are a lot better than your written ones.
That's because I can say more without. I have like rheumatoid arthritis.
And you pause,
Yeah.
and it's not just one big word vomit. Like when you wrote it, and it's you're personable. We see you,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and that's actually a very good way to get out to the public. I like it a lot. I think it's a great take. Tony's
thank you.
takes are fantastic.
Thank
well,
you.
pretty much all the shows, pretty much all my live shows except for I think one. Tony's my partner in doing them. He's a fan.
And I
he's
pop
great
in
to
on
have.
everybody else's. So.
Yeah, he's a great partner to have. The only thing he is you be the host and you steer me where to go, then I'll just go, which is what I do. I give him a topic, especially one that he really knows and enjoys. I just give it to him and I just let him go.
For some people, that's a lot, especially in the chats there, right? So anyway, but yeah, it's like if I can give some of it, and especially since I've seen a lot of football in my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, Dave,
Kinda
you and One Bar are like the reason I started doing this.
Well, good.
And I appreciate it. I don't have my full setup yet. I pretty much do all live. I really haven't done like a video yet.
It's a different recording and editing and putting out your best product is a whole different process, and it'll drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I started when we went to video back in 2017, 18, somewhere there. And we were doing Good Morning Gallahorn, me, Drew, and Ted.
I remember that.
And we would record, and it would take me 3 days to edit and put it all together. Now, I like to get a lot of graphics intensive on my stuff. even on my lives, you see me not so much this season, but even during the seasons, I'll pop up player or whatever. Especially on 2L bloggers, you see it on 2L bloggers all the time on Saturdays. But it would take me 3 days. Whereas if I did a live, all I had to do was prep that day for whatever it was, whatever their topics were.
Yeah.
Prep and have it ready. And if I want to do graphics, I work on graphics. Like 2L bloggers, I'll work on graphics for 2 days. But we'll work on graphics so they're ready. I have the system set up and different things, tools to make sure that I, hit a button and it pops up when it's supposed to. And then we'd go live. And once you're done live, you're done.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is come back after the video processes to put in the thumbnail stuff or the end cards,
Right.
and you're done.
Dave, was it us that came up with the idea for we did the screensavers years ago with the throwback schedules?
Yes.
That was okay.
Yes. Okay. You started it. I took it because I thought it was a great idea, and we did one together where we started pulling off the oldest logos we could find, and
everybody loved that. I'm like, no,
so
I'm not sharing it.
So when you did the Vikings upcoming schedule, when they played the Buccaneers, you'd use the Buccaneer Bruce logo.
Yes.
Yeah. We'd use the first ones.
Yeah, we used the first ones.
We played the
original.
Packers. It was the Acme Packing Company
from the 1920s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. And I had.
If we could find it, that's the one we used.
Yep. And that was with the Bears. It was the bear on the football. That old logo that they had years ago, and that was for every team.
And the Chargers was the shield with the
horse.
The horse.
The horse.
Yeah. The Lions with the two lines behind the lion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the first
of a Ford Pinto for some reason.
The first show I ever did on internet was Good Morning Gallahorn.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Vikings, was it the old Viking logo, the purple and white one?
Yep.
Yes, the one that's pointing instead of the
and
Norseman.
It's got the real long exaggerated
long exaggerated horn. Yeah, which they altered years later to what it was.
The elf for the Browns logo.
Yeah, I had to look all over for the elf.
Oh, I've got the elf all. I've got it in my library and stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I had to look all over for the elf. I'm like, wait, what was?
And some of the old school logos are pretty cool.
I miss them.
Did you guys ever use the brown and yellow horse for the Broncos?
We used I want to say with the D, with the horse coming out of the D.
Oh, okay. So you didn't use
we didn't use that goofy looking Bronco they had on their helmets.
Yeah, with the Talking Ed Bronco. With
Mr. Ed.
The owner was so cheap that he bought used uniforms instead of new ones.
Well, they had a public burning for the socks because the socks were so bad for the uniforms.
Yeah,
they had a public burning after the game. That's how bad it was.
I was thinking about the Vikings have pretty much had the same helmet the whole time they've been a team. They modernized it.
You can't really ruin it because if you change that helmet all of a sudden, you change the mystique.
What year was that where they thought about putting you got like the 49ers did the SF and they released
that was the year that was
the 49ers.
That was 06.
What was the year where the Vikings thought about putting the North set on the helmet as opposed to the
that was 06 and that was Childress. Yeah, that was Childress.
Thankfully they didn't.
Yeah. But the
only thing that's changed on the Vikings helmet over the time is the color, because we've gone from different shades of purple.
Right.
The horn, which originally was hand painted on,
it's more three-dimensional nowadays.
And then when the Wilfs came in, they added that three-dimensional. It's a decal now.
Yeah.
That's applied, and the finish, because if you remember, if you go old school 70s, 60s, 70s. It's a more burgundy-ish purple, and it's darker.
You know what's funny? You bring that up, Dave. Those uniforms back in the day, in a certain sunlight outdoors, they were plum, but they looked blue.
Well, the throwback uniforms this year are the darker purple, almost bluish ones.
Yeah,
and it depends on the light, which way.
Yeah.
And if you look back in the pictures of the history, it's either that burgundy-ish. Sort of more red, or it's the darker blue, and especially the uniforms.
And unfortunately, when it got to the dome, because of the lighting and the seating, it all looked. They didn't look purple. They looked blue.
They look blue.
And the match uniforms did not match the helmets either.
Well, no,
Well,
and the
well-
Vikings kept changing the fabric.
Right. And that's now at one point in time, up until when they put the stupid stripes deal, that version.
Yeah,
Of the-
Nike. That was old.
Oh God, the children,
the high school
uniforms.
uniforms.
The
as I call
children's
them.
ones, yeah.
Yeah.
The high school uniforms.
The early Nike. Blah.
Yeah.
They had the helmet was a gloss purple
Mm-hmm.
and it had a little bit of the flake in it.
Yeah.
I love that. I thought that was a beautiful,
Well, they had
helmet.
that with even in the Dante years. That's what they went to that helmet with that flake. I love those.
That was sharp as shit.
Yeah.
And then of course they changed and they went to the
Matted.
matte purple,
Yeah, they had the
Yeah.
matte purple now. Yeah,
which I like the
I
glossy
don't-
one with the flake, but
I don't like the black face mask.
No.
well we like the gray from
Go back
Well,
to the gray.
they-
Gray or
they-
purple. You
they
can't go
gray.
wrong with gray, purple, or white.
Yeah,
Right.
they originally were gray. Then they went to the white in the early '80s, and then they went to
They
the
went to
purple
purple.
face mask. And they had those for a while, and then when they brought out these new uniforms, they went to black. I don't like the black.
And that's, you know what? That's Nike, because Nike's, every time they put a jersey out there, they put out a
It means
black
money.
uniform. Money.
and they
I'm-
want to do it. We got the alternate uniforms this time because and you're seeing more teams with more
Yeah.
alternates,
Mhm.
and the whole reason is bank. Oh, I gotta have.
Well, in the
that. I
NFL
wanna wear
now,
that.
the NFL now is letting teams wear more than one shell.
Yes,
That has a lot to do with it. The fact that they're letting teams wear more than one shell. Oh, by the
which
way,
I think is awesome because
Nike's up for sale, so we'll see what happens with
Those-
Nike.
I didn't know that.
Those
That's interesting.
creamsicle.
Not
uniforms
Nike,
are
but,
awesome.
Rydell.
Okay.
Rydell helmets is up for sale. So we'll see
Okay.
who buys it. But
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
viscous has become basically the dominant. I
mhm,
think become the dominant helmet over the last few years.
yeah. So now with the
That's a
Vikings,
weird.
you've got what the Vikings need to do is go back to their old school white uniforms.
Viscous, you'll know Viscous has a bunch of different size or styles.
Mhm.
Right.
When you look at Darisaw and you see that little extra,
Yeah, that
Hooded
extra
piece of
protection under
Oh, the
crown.
Mark Kelso type thing.
The crown, yeah.
that's the lineman specific helmet by Viscous.
Ingram's wearing it. Ingram's
Yeah.
wearing it too.
Okay.
and I want them to. I don't want them to get, especially if you've had a concussion, you need the better helmet.
Yeah.
The Viscous by far is the best tested helmet out of any other brand. Period. Nobody comes close.
I got
They
a
are the
question
best.
though.
That's why they come, and they
Is
can run
White
about
still around?
$1,000 a piece.
What
Which the
happened?
team buys anyways.
What
Yeah.
happened with the lineman cages now? You don't have them anymore.
What the
NFL.
full?
Yeah.
The NFL mandated face masks. You can no longer have those cool looking like the Ricky Jackson
With the
face
multiple
mask.
bars. or
Those,
the-
but even like lineman face masks like you used to wear back in the day, even if you found a style like that currently,
Yeah.
but you never see the players wearing like the John Randall face mask
Right.
or even like that type of cage. It's kind of, they're all wearing like damn near like running back cages.
well, they still come down a little bit,
Yeah.
No.
Right.
but 3 bars I think across is maybe
Yeah.
max you're seeing now.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, you're right. And,
And some-
and you're
and
not
some-
seeing the center bar
No.
anymore because
Right.
if they want eye protection, they're wearing the plexiglass.
Right. I think the only one that's wearing a center bar is McGlinchey in
Okay.
wherever he's playing. But everybody else wears those like
you don't see the U.
you don't see the U. It's like they're just kind of like generic, even for
Single-
linemen. And some
Single
linemen,
bar.
yeah, and some linemen got them fat faces where it looks like their face is just scrunched into their helmet. It's like, can this dude breathe?
Yeah.
But it's all but Viscous is the one that does that. They do a bunch of those. If you see it with the double ridge at the top and the holes, the
Mhm.
small, that's a Viscous helmet. There's I think half dozen different styles of Viscous helmets, but they have a lineman specific. They have a skills position because it's lighter.
Right.
It doesn't give quite the protection of the lineman, but it's lighter. And
And you never see shoulder pads now. I'm kind of like,
They're tiny.
They're tiny. I'm like, are these even shoulder pads?
You know, you and I remember back in the 80s.
There were these big hulking things that took up, when you had to fight to get your uniform over it.
Earl Campbell's a prime example. You know, he didn't have to hit you head on. He could just bam with his shoulder, and there was that much space.
Yeah.
I used to wear the face mask at the center line down the middle. And you had 3 bars.
I wore the classic cage.
I had to change that because I got poked in the eye too many damn times. So I had to go to a one that didn't have the center bar, and I had to wear a visor.
Well, see, they didn't have visors.
They didn't even have visors when we got poked in the eye. We're just wearing
center bar.
Yeah, we had the center bar, but if we got poked in the eye, hell, we're just gonna wear an eye patch.
Well, I graduated in '93, so
mask smashed, and I had to get a new face mask, and then I went to the U.
I think I visors just started coming out when I was because I got in '90, in that early '90s is when I.
Well, that was designed by the Vikings because of Mark Mulaney.
Yeah,
when he got poked in the eye.
You're right.
He had that traditional cage, so that lineman literally had to get his hands in between those 2 holes and basically pull a Three Stooges and get him in the eye.
Bottom of the pile, stuff like that would happen.
That's why my wife asked, "How come they go into the fetal position when they fall on a football?" That's why you go into the fetal position.
It's called "We don't wear cups anymore." Well, and the one that was really blatant. You might remember this, Dave. Remember when we had Bubba Baker?
Right.
He got pissed off. It was Minnesota played Philly, and he got pissed off at Ron Heller. And he literally poked him in the eye between plays. Literally. It was on he got suspended for a game for it. And he literally just poked him right in the eye. I'm like, really, dude? They're gonna see that. And
they especially do now.
Yeah, and Heller ended up with the visor, but it wasn't tinted like Mulaney's was. But he ended up with the visor and now he's legally blind in that eye. It does happen.
Now I saw a ESPN commercial today for Manning's his history show.
Oh yeah, Archie. Peyton's got a. He's got a history show because he did one with Ahmad Rashad at Mall of America.
Well, this one he's interviewing.
Is it the John Randall one?
Yeah, John Randall.
Oh, and they talk about when Trent Dilfer went after him.
What was Trent Dilfer thinking?
He pulled his. I don't know. Maybe he was watching WWE. Randall pissed him off. And he had just got away from Randall. Randall brought him down,
hit him at the knee, grabbed him
at the knee, and grabbed him.
It looked like it could have been dangerous.
Yep.
The tackle, not that Randall was being malicious whatsoever. It was just
he's just doing his job,
and he let go. I mean, there was nothing.
But he went after him like he's Bret the Hitman Hart, and John Randall is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He comes up throwing elbows. It's like, whoa! I remember when it happened. And he did it in front of the Viking bench.
And in front of the umpire ejected.
Yeah. I mean, there was a I don't know who it was. The guy came off the Viking bench, but he just tossed Dilfer off of Randall. And Randall's just kind of laying there like, you see this? And Dilfer got kicked out of the game. He got ejected.
He lost his temper.
Yeah.
He couldn't control his emotions.
But you know what, though? Years later, Dilfer did that as a high school coach.
Oh, did he?
He lost his temper on a kid.
As a high school.
Yeah, he lost his temper.
Good way to get your ass not only fired, but possibly put in jail.
Right. He went off on a high school kid. Same, just not as bad as he did John Randall, but he went off on the kid. I'm like, this dude's in high school. What are you doing?
You guys remember the Fod Reve's personal foul?
How the hell does a kicker get a 15-yard
I remember, I think Matt
foul?
Millen was doing the play-by-play. He goes, the next time Fod Reve did like a kickoff, he goes, oh, here comes the assassin, Fod Reve.
Yeah. Here's the funny thing about it. It was preseason. I heard the call. They said personal foul number 7 on the kicking team. I'm like, wait, that's the kicker. I'm like, what the hell did he do? He's a kicker. Who's the hell he gonna rough up?
Father Mays was a different cat, man.
Yeah, he was. He was.
He was a different cat.
Yeah.
Of course, all kickers are weird, but
They're not.
Yeah.
They're not athletes. Let's just go there.
No.
They're not athletes.
Donald Igwe,
They're kickers.
ended up being a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wonder if him and Nate Newton knew each other.
Oh, Nate has distanced himself from that life so fast. As much as it's with the weight loss. I mean, he's just like, that is so in the he won't even bring it up now. And I've heard stories about the whole White House thing because I'm friends with the person in the media. And I heard the stories about them Cowboy teams. My God. It's a wonder they were sober enough to win a title, let alone the three that they won.
and you say sober, and we're not necessarily talking alcohol.
Thank you.
However, there was a shit load of that too.
Thank you. I mean, they were party animals.
North Dallas 40 was inspired by them.
Yeah.
Literally.
And when they talk about the Palace of White, they ain't talking about someone's house.
No. It's just and that was just a different era. But you would expect that from like the Raiders because they were in LA. It's the friggin' Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Nug, there's nothing wrong with that. Do you want to know what the one position in any military unit, but anywhere that can up morale the most? It's being a cook. If you are a good cook, you raise everybody's morale.
Everybody got to eat. You got to eat.
And they'll love you for it. I can tell you all sorts of stories of good ones and bad ones.
Yeah, my dad was a cook in the military. I don't know if he was so good at it, but he ended up being the admiral's personal chef.
He had to be good at it. He had to be good at it. He was good at
They were
it.
so mad at him because the admiral would eat dinner with the crew, but not as breakfast and lunch. So my dad had to get up early, 3:30, 4 o'clock, but he was done by like 12:30. Had the rest of the day to do whatever he wanted. And you see all these people like busting their ass working. My dad's just, hey, what up, guys?
Exactly.
That was his only job. But
Frozen North wants me to tell stories. Frozen North, I'm sorry, but it's past my bedtime. And as much fun as this has been, I need to bid good night to everybody.
Well,
yeah, we do too.
This is about the time we usually end it anyway.
Yeah.
I got a show to turn around in the morning. I got to get the podcast out from Tyler's.
Well, Dave,
Real
you are
Football
welcome on this show anytime, because
Definitely.
this is the
Definitely.
Vikings history show. So you are welcome.
I have a whole bunch of missing years in there, but
That's what I'm here for.
As I tell our listeners and our viewers, I am the Reader's Digest version of the Vikings history. He's the whole row of encyclopedias. Tony's the whole row of encyclopedias. So, like the 80s, like 88, 89, I remember games, I remember players, I remember stuff like that. Like, I don't remember exactly how Tony does, but I do remember that. I didn't grow up in Minnesota, so mine is kind of, detached, but he's actually been around the team, so he knows.
And I can
much,
go off of what I remember.
and
from
he's
the
got
press
numerous books that he's studied.
Yeah.
He's literally within. If you want Viking knowledge within the Vikings realm, Tony is your source.
Thank you.
It's that simple. There's only two other people that I know that have done historic style of stuff for the Vikings, and I highly encourage you to see those. One is Luke Braun. He did his, I think it's 7 hours worth of history.
I saw that. I did see that.
And he did a very good job of that. And of course, the other one was the one that came out just this summer, where the Barstool Sports, is it?
Barstool, yeah, Barstool.
Luke Braun's got a bigger budget than we do.
Well, do you know what Luke does for a living?
Well, I know he does the Purple Insider,
He's Locked On Vikings,
like on
Yeah.
Vikings. Okay.
It's Locked On
but that's
Vikings.
that's not his day job. He would love for that to be his day job, but that's not his day job.
Mm.
He's an editor for a major company that makes children programming on
Oh, okay.
YouTube. He's constantly editing shows.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
His talent is in. I mean, he's a geek. He is a geek coming out of Grand. There's that whole bunch that came out of Grand Forks at that one time.
Right.
You have Luke. You have Arif Hassan. There's a couple other ones. They all came out of that area at the same time,
Mhm.
and all of them have made pretty good livings doing this. So, and I'm happy for him. But Luke went to LA, and he became a movie and TV editor,
Oh, okay.
and that's where he got his skills. Along with loving the Vikings, he's very good at doing that. He's the one that turned me on to when I started with the video. Luke was my go-to guy. What should I use? How should I do this?
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And he
Is he
pointed me
still
in
in
the
LA?
right direction. He's still in LA.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. Is I went to school for TV and radio broadcasting, and the editing was the part I hated the most.
Oh yeah, and it's
Yeah.
and we're talking back. Well, like I said, 17, 18 when I started.
Yeah.
And he turned me on to Final Cut Pro because all I had before that was iMovie.
Because we use
And-
Canva for our stuff.
Well, and the Canva's a real nice tool.
Yeah.
And then there was, but we're talking for the professional stuff. There was the Adobe, and I think there was one other one. And they were real complicated on how you build stuff and lay stuff on timelines and stuff. It is just he's got all that down. He's a master at it, and that's what he does. But he wants to make the Vikings full time, but he's got to. Living out in LA is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dave,
Actually,
well,
you know what? My girl's here. What's up, baby? She lives in California. So, but
so
she's
Dave, we'll add you to Tony and I's chat,
Okay.
so that you, because we take ideas from so chat. If you have an idea for a show, let us know. We'll do it.
I thought I sent you a list last week when you asked.
I never got it. Did
You
you?
never got it.
Yeah, we never got it. Did you send it to Yogi?
Oh, I could have swore I sent it to you guys.
If you send it to Purple, if you send it to
Well, add me. Is it on Facebook or Twitter?
Well, hit me up on
I-
Facebook.
yeah, I contacted you
Yeah.
on Twitter.
You've got me on Facebook, right, Dave?
Yeah, I got Tony
Yeah,
on Facebook.
yeah. Hit me up on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff to talk about. Trust me.
Yeah, and then I'll link my Facebook and I'll give you my phone number and all that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
Well, I can't guarantee anything because I'm busy normally. It's just tonight, you guys popped on. It was like, I was watching a little Yogi before, and I was like, hey,
Yeah.
let's check it out because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Doing history. You guys are the only ones that are making the
That's
show
why-
of it.
That's why we
that's
did
when
it.
that's why when I first started getting into this, and Yogi said, you can use my channel to start off doing YouTube,
Mhm.
and then Tony and I did a show, and I'm like, I sent Tony a message. I'm like, what do you think about doing a history show? Because there is absolutely nobody doing a history
Exactly.
show.
Mhm.
Nobody at all.
Yeah.
No, you'll own the niche. Even what Luke did, that's a one-off.
Mhm.
Right.
You guys are going to do it, tell stories and all that the Frozen North wants to see. And,
Yeah.
and so it's going to be a fun show. People want to come and listen. So it should be good.
We're trying to get out there. We're trying to
Yeah.
I go on
I
one
know
bar in Upicus and I try to tell them they send, like we had a lot of people last week. We're
You got
trying
to
to get
promote other places too.
we're trying to get the timing down. Right now we start at 9. We may go earlier. I don't know if that'd be better. But
But there's other people that are also doing it too.
Do
Yeah.
market research. Go through and look at the Viking Sphere,
right.
as I call it. Go on YouTube and look up the Viking Sphere and who all's got shows and how many subscribers they have, so you know who are the big boys. Right? I'm not a big boy.
Right.
Right? Since splitting from Climbing the Pocket, we're rebuilding back up. We're not even close to big boy. We're hoped to get to 2,000 by the end of the season. There's people, Ted and Drew, they're over 25,000. You have Score North, obviously biggest.
Right.
Actually, I think they're second. Podcast, they're number 7 nationwide, which is of NFL. That's odd. That's amazing for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for them. You have the Purple for the Win dude. He's got like 70 or 80,000.
Oh, that's Andy Carlson. Yeah.
Yeah, which blows my mind. I haven't ever since the initial issues with him. I haven't watched him, but
Right.
But you go through and you see who's there.
Right.
There's and you look at all the different shows. You can look on the podcast side, you can look on the video side, YouTube side. Let's start with the YouTube side. Go through, look at them all, look how they do things, look how they make thumbnails, look out how many subscribers they have. And there are no history niche shows there, right? When it comes to funny, there's 2. One Bard Lupagus and Vikings Report with Ted and Drew. And Vikings Report with Ted and Drew is a off-brand of, they're both different types of funny.
Right.
Right? One Bard Lupagus is crude humor, whereas Ted and Drew is more 70s.
Old school humor.
Old school, right? And they're both great, and that's why they do so well. Because you want to laugh, go watch either one of those shows. You're going to laugh.
They won't have me on.
And
And for some reason, Declan would not let me go on. He would not put me on Score North.
really,
Yeah, I don't know why.
well, I haven't talked to Declan.
Yeah.
And I've told Mackie and I've told Judd I want to talk to Declan because he's a producer. I want to bounce producing stuff off of him.
Yeah.
But I've never sent an email saying I want to be on the show. There's I talk to Mac, I talk to Phil, and I talk to Judd regularly. I talk to Matt Collar regularly. I talk to there's a few of the other guys I talk to on different time periods and whatever. But look at those and look at what they're doing and how they're doing it and just go, all right, right now we're right here. How can we move up? All right, we're already doing something nobody else is doing. That's great. How can I focus on that? How can I promote that? Do I need to stick out tweets? One thing I hate is promoting. I hate the paperwork side. Everybody wants to come on and yak, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to yak, tell nothing but stories. But I have to prepare for the show. One, I need to know what we're talking about, unless it's a complete free-for-all. Know what we're talking about. I need to do graphics if I'm doing graphics, if it's a graphic intensive show. Have those ready. I need to do research. If I didn't have to research something, history show, you're going to want to do some little bit of research and verify whatever the subject matter is. You tonight, TYA was with the list of who's backups, because I couldn't name them all. Yeah. And go in there and get ready. And then you got to do, because I post written stuff on both Daily Norseman and Fans First Sports Network to accompany my shows, depending on which show it is. I have to have a written piece that I also use to double as my description. There's certain things in the description of the YouTube piece you should have that hits the algorithm. There's certain ways you label your thumbnail that only the algorithm can see, that keys things to get your show out to different people. There's different strategies to build a program, also that we can talk to Frozen North in the comments. But you go through that and you look at it, you can figure out ways where you can fit in, and then you start plugging in. And we're doing this on the air, but I can give you points and stuff when I'm not busy and you're not busy, and we can go through and step through different ways of doing things. Not that I'm an expert, it's just I've done it so many times. Get you on right tracks and going, and it ends up to where we're doing the show, and then after the show, the post-process, make sure you come back the next day, and then you should put out another tweet in case you missed it. Go see this and all that stuff, and then you get on the different shows, right? And you go, hey, and tomorrow night we've got the history show.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, 'cause
TYA and Tony.
Because I think, because Tony and I have been talking,
And look at the times of the broadcasts as well.
This show has the potential to be a top YouTube show. And that's why I want it to become. Because, like you said, it's the only weekly Vikings history show that's on the air. You know, that's on YouTube. Because, like you said, you get these one hits where they do maybe a hour and 45-minute talk about the history, but it's this part of the history. It's not dedicated to a particular part of history. You know, because you can find plenty of shows that talk about the Vikings now.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's why we think this show could be really big. We're just trying to, get it out there. So, I mean, I can probably get my niece to help me with the social media part. She's really big on Instagram, so maybe I can get her to help me with the.
The more part. You have, the better. Because trust me, I don't like doing it, and it's one of those things that you should be doing. I don't do enough of, and I get yelled at by powers to be. Well, you need to do this. It's like, give me a hand. I'm busy enough.
Right.
Well, Frozen, if you're offering, I mean, you can teach me the, if you know about producing,
It's quite a deal. So.
Yeah.
And doesn't pay when you're starting out. Nothing pays. So
this greatest moment in the world,
and you're going to be putting out you're going to have to go through 100 shows before, you think you're anywhere close to where you want to be.
Yeah, you're up late, Mom. Jeez, it's 1 o'clock for you.
Anyways, speaking of being late,
right,
gentlemen.
So next week's show will be Wednesday. We don't know the topic yet. I will put it in the thumbnail. I'll hit up other shows that I hit up during the week. And once Tony and I decide what show we're going to do, I'll let everybody know.
Yep.
We may change the time. We not. It all depends. Right now we're doing 9:15. We may switch it to 8:30. We don't know yet.
We are open to suggestions.
We are open to suggestions. Like we did Sarah. We did one of Sarah gave us a suggestion earlier, Dave. We did her show, number 1 draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
So
good one.
Yeah, it was a very good show.
I think I posted that list in that one when the show you asked for it. I think I put it in the comments. But it was a list of like 10 different topics.
Oh, okay.
I may not have. I may still have it written somewhere. I'll have to go.
Yeah. No, like I said, if we can do, like with Nugget here, we can do Vikings versus Lions, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. History of battles.
Yeah, exactly. It's all open. And like I said, the guys who are here every week, Frozen North, Gary, I think Two Evil pops in here, Sarah pops in here, Nug, you're not even a Vikings fan and you're here every week. I can't tell you how much that appreciates that.
Yep.
Vikings Funeral, I appreciate you coming over. It's the same guys every week, that come to the show. And I like I said, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
And with this, it helps me remember a lot of stuff I forgot.
Yeah,
and different stories.
Yeah, different stories, and it's like I'll be like, "Oh, I remember that," and then all of a sudden it'll hit me from whoever I talk to. I used to talk to Bob Lertzma a lot, the former.
Yes, Bench Warmer Bob.
Yes,
Bench Warmer. I used to get the Viking update. I used to get the Viking update.
Yeah, I lived for that magazine.
Yeah, that's how I know most of my Viking stuff, because I get the Viking update delivered to my house.
And then he started going to a lot of the semi-pro games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was actually in the press box and I did stats. I would do stats. Well, I missed half the game because I'm chopping it up with Bob Lertzma in the press box about those teams that he played on. And he's still involved in was involved in the press a little bit. So I would get a little bit of what he heard. That's how I heard about the whole Zimmer and that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, I got a lot of my info from him and a couple of other sources, but a lot of it I research. I go back and read the newspapers.
Yeah, I got a couple of Vikings books here myself too, so I may look at those.
I got like half a library, but other than that, I don't have much.
So, Dave, where can people find you on the socials?
Vikings First and Skull is the overall corporation. They can find me at Luft.Krieger. And for those that don't know, Luft is Norse for air, and Krieger is Norse for warrior. I was in the Air Force at the time, and I thought it was appropriate.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
It's perfect.
And Tony, you're on you're on all Yogi's channels, Purple Rain 24/7.
You can find me on Facebook too.
Yeah.
Anthony Tony Bell. I've also got Minnesota Vikings 24/7 365. I've got NFL and Pro Football 24/7 365. I also have classic NFL and Pro Football 24/7 365. And for those that aren't football fans, I have Hard Rock and Heavy Metal 24/7 365. And I've also got Pro Wrestling 24/7 365. If it's 24/7 365, it's most likely mine. That's how I did it.
And then I'm at Catch84 on Twitter. Like I said, I refuse to call it X. And on Facebook, I'm just Curtis Alexander with a Z. Then
on
YouTube.
Twitter, I hope I said underscore, Luft underscore.
Oh, okay. And
My
then
Gmail is Luft dot Krieger.
Yeah, my Twitter handle is in the link there at tbell6613.
And mine was the underscore because I was one of the originals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're
I've only
OG.
been part of Twitter since like 2017, I think, something like that.
Oh shit! No, I've been on
Yeah.
since like 2006, 7, whatever it started.
Yeah.
I think the 6613. I think that's when I got on Twitter.
Check your PMs, Tony.
Okay.
So, all right. Well,
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you
So-
shitting me?
like I said, that sounds like a conversation for off the air.
It
We
is.
will.
It is.
We will see you guys. We will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for having.
Skull Vikings, let's win this game. Skull Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run out the score. You'll hear us yell for more. V-I-K-I-N-G-S, Skull